Okay, as I began getting my monitor straight, you see what's on the board behind me, and that is what we're going to be talking about. Alejandro Garcia, good evening to you. That is what we're going to be talking about, making it clear right off the bat. As you can tell, President Trump apparently they even seized his FBI, or it seized his passport. When you got FBI on the brain, you got FBI on the brain. But they also, according to President Trump, seized his passport. So that would mean that the former president can't even take one of those Turks and Caicos, Bahamas type vacations. He is literally stuck in the United States. So we're going to be talking about the question behind me, why Trump is not suing the FBI. Why would we ask that question? Well, according to President Trump, according to my beloved MAGA audience, you know, I always say this is a MAGA-friendly audience. According to Trump, all of this stuff was declassified. Fair enough. That would mean that the FBI illegally seized our president's personal items. This was all his own personal items. So the question is, with President Trump having access to literally an infinite amount of lawyers, why has he not sued the FBI demanding the return of his personal property? It's been a week, folks. This has happened a week ago. He could easily have filed a suit by now. How difficult would it be to show evidence that you declassified these documents and kept them for personal use? Whatever that may be, being president of the country gives you entitlements. If you want to take home a personal letter, maybe that you had signed by Vladimir Putin or another foreign leader, you can declassify that and do that. But you should easily be able to show where it was stamped declassified or where you sent out a memorandum or whatever the process is to do this. And make no mistake about it, there is a process to declassify equipment, declassify documents, declassify materials. This is not Barbara Eden where you fold your arms, blink your eyes, and something is declassified. Folks have to know you just made it declassified. The way we're hearing things now, where he simply took stuff home and declassified it, would mean that it would literally be impossible. Yeah, thank you for that. Would mean that it would literally be impossible for a president to steal or commit an act of espionage. Because if they were ever caught doing so, they would just simply say, this was declassified. So there has to be a process. You have to let them know ahead of time. So if Trump declassified these documents, declassified said materials, how hard would that be to prove? And why is he not taking the FBI to task, taking them to court, and suing them to get his personal property back? Give me back my documents. That should be the head of the lawsuit. In addition to his passport, give me a new safe that you broke into, and all of those things. Or is it a bunch of bullshit? And is Merrick Garland onto something? That is what we're going to be talking about tonight. The box is open right away. We will go there. Alejandro, straight out of Venezuela. To you, sir. Alejandro, can you hear me?
Hi, what are you, my man?
Say that again.
No picky English, so saludar, un abraço.
Unfortunately, the gentleman does not speak the language of the program. Nothing we can do about that. We're going to move on. The box is open. Looking at Andre, he may not be guilty of a crime, but guilty of ignorance. Well, I believe there is a saying, and that could be true, Andre. You could be onto something, but I believe there is a saying that says ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. So let's see what happens. Did you see all the Republicans that took the office? I know a lot of Trump candidates are doing exceptionally well, but that does not mean it will save President Trump himself. Keep in mind, when President Trump lost the election in 2020, the Republicans outperformed expectations that year. Trump may have lost the election, but the Republican Senate and Congress and even down ballot races, the Republicans actually did better than they were expected, which means that it was not the policies of President Trump. It was a referendum on Trump himself. Looking back in the comments here, Jesus loves everyone. That is a good thing, Joe. Ain't shit happening except Trump 2024. Keep crying, says John Glenn. Sounds like a guy straight off the moon. Appreciate your work, John Glenn. There was no reason for him to have them. Dan, and that's where we're going to be looking into. Were these declassified documents that Trump may have kept for keepsake, or was he onto some type of nefarious black market activity? We'll go straight to the Script News Network. I believe this is a Script News Network. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
How's it going, brother?
Script.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. So, what do you think about what we're talking about here? Go ahead.
So I've been digging into this, like really, really deep on it. And the FBI agents that were there, did you get the manifesto of the agents that were there?
No, sir. Cue me in.
Okay, so the FBI agents that were there should have reclused themselves. They were involved in the Russia hoax. And I'm going to say hoax because the Russia thing was never proved. We never had any proof on it. And, you know, if they proved it, I would say, okay, then, you know, it is what it is. But they shouldn't have been there. It should have been other agents that should have been there. So they're totally connected to Comey and connected to Mueller. So this is a problem. So I think that would be one of the reasons why he's not going to do that. Also, I came across some documents.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'll let you continue. But you're saying because there was a conflict of interest because these agents had went after him before, that's stopping Trump from suing to get his personal property back?
Yeah, the one reason is because they were declassified. When he was in the air in Air Force One and left D.C. to go back to Mar-a-Lago that day, these are the contents. Mm-hmm. You got to remember some of the contents they're going after. He had them on him. There's a red folder that's been floating around the internet for a while now. And that red folder that he had was declassified as soon as he went into the air, because I don't know if you know how maritime law works with land, sea, and air. As soon as you're in the land, you know, everything can be declassified and so forth. They can't do nothing. As soon as you're in the air, they can reclassify anything that he declassified. That's how crazy this is.
Okay, but there has to be a record of this taking place. I mean, when he took those documents to his house, the day he took them away from wherever they were safely put at, there has to be a record of those documents leaving there that day being classified or declassified, right?
Correct. So
okay, that should be easily verifiable.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. This is where I get confused on the whole thing, because everything should be verifiable very quickly. But here's the other part, and I know about the FBI. I have family that's you know they're marshals, they're FBI's, and everything. But normally when they serve a search warrant, especially with this high profile person, right? Mm-hmm. They would have served it with him there. You know, they didn't catch him off guard. They didn't catch him off guard or anything like that. He wasn't even there. And they're doing it at 3 a.m. Makes no sense. And he's got cameras in every single one of those rooms. He was watching it in real time. Everything that they did, he watched it in real time. So I think
that's gotta suck. Gotta suck. But in regards to performing a warrant in the wee hours of the morning, Isn't our police departments and things like that known for doing that to catch you off guard?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And they would know he would be there. See, now the reason why they would want him there, they brought safe crackers with them. Wouldn't it be easier to just say, hey, Trump, just open the safe up?
I mean, according to the FBI, they had actually tried saying, hey, Trump, just give us the documents back. And they were not playing ball with them. So if you go, hey, Trump, just open the safe up, the belief is that he's not going to do it.
Yeah, I think that, well, from what I've confirmed, they were declassified already, what he had. So let's talk about something. You know how they give you a 2-year period to digitize everything that you take when you leave the White House, right? So Obama has 33 million pages that were never digitized. Okay, they didn't raid his house over it. They were classified when he left with them. Tons of it, and I have all that proof. I can send you that proof.
right. They're suggesting that when President Obama had those documents sent, he didn't have them sent to his house. He had them sent to an FBI office in Chicago, in that area, not to his home.
Yeah. Well, half of them were sent to the FBI headquarters in Chicago. Half of them were, but he had possessions on him too. He had them for 5 years now. They've never been digitized, none of them. But every president, Jimmy Carter, same thing. Jimmy Carter went to his house, had classified, declassified documents when he went back home. Same thing with Bill Clinton. I checked into this just to see if any other president had done it.
I get what you're saying, and you may be correct, but that's not the charge being made. The charge is not being made against Trump being in possession of declassified documents. Trump is being accused of being in possession of documents that he have no legal right to hold. He's being charged of being in possession of documents that belong to the Americans.
They got to prove it, though. Wait. The original documentation that I saw the search warrant and everything. Did you go through each one?
No, I have not.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, then this is a waste of time because they had no proof.
No, once again, that's
once again the FBI with no proof again.
Okay, well, let me tell you why it is not a waste of time. The goal here, that's the sole purpose of why I prefer talking to MAGA, is often to be educated and to hear what the other side is thinking. Even if I went through all of the information you're suggesting, you and I probably wouldn't agree anyway. So that's why I want to speak to you and the folks. You understand?
Okay, that's no problem. I mean, for me though, this is just how I'm looking at it. I saw the warrants. I actually put a video up. They took it down. Of course, TikTok took it down. I had the actual video of the search warrant. Now, when Ray first came out, and you have Garland's definitely reaching. All right, the main dude that signed Reinhardt, that signed the warrant, Reinhardt is connected to Epstein. So this gets deeper than what we even think it is just on the surface from what I've seen. But as far as the FBI proving that he had none, I heard they walked away with nothing. That's just my opinion. I'm going to leave it at that.
About the 14 to 20 boxes that they walked away with?
Yeah, that could be anything. It could be pages. It could be boxes. When you're cracking a safe, then they wouldn't have needed to crack the safe. Those were put in a secure location that Trump was told to put in, that were under supervision by the Secret Service constantly. There's a detail that watches these classified documents that everybody's talking about, or declassified.
So what about the idea, according to Trump, the claim from Trump that they even took his passports? Why isn't he suing to get his passport back?
I think he's going to wait and see what happens, because from what I'm looking at it is there's been a bunch of stuff that's come out. Hunter Biden's laptop, the same day that they raided Trump, they were supposed to put Hunter Biden's laptop and submit it as evidence.
Okay, wait a minute. You don't understand. These two things are by no means connected at all. Whatever happens to Trump, whatever happens to Hunter Biden, they have no.
Well, who had it? Who had Hunter Biden's laptop? Matt Gaetz had it. Who's to say that Matt Gaetz didn't give the hard drive to Trump and then it went into his safe?
Okay, well, at that point, you're going so far into the conspiracy zone. I don't know where to go. I mean,
I don't go by conspiracies no more. They told me Hunter Biden didn't have a laptop 2 years ago, took down all my accounts for me putting up a picture of him smoking crack. Then when I showed everybody the laptop contents, they took down all my accounts, right? And I got big accounts too, just like you. They took them down and said, "Oh, that's a conspiracy." Everything we've proved, I'll tell you straight up and down right here. Whether he lost. Yeah, well, listen, let me give you a scenario. Whether he lost the election or whether Joe Biden won it, Hunter Biden having that laptop with the contents that I've seen, the connections to China, the connections to Burisma, the quid pro quo Joe, the whole thing that connects to it, he's not even legitimate to even run for presidency because he would be compromised. If Trump's son had fucking videos, sorry, I didn't mean to curse, but if he had videos of him smoking crack, Trump would never have made it to the office. You're crazy. Okay. Never.
All right. Well, Marion Barry won.
It's a witch hunt.
It might be a witch hunt. The point I'm trying to make is very similar to what took place on January 6th, and folks bring up Black Lives Matter riots of 2020. What we're talking about in regards to Trump's private home, Mar-a-Lago, being raided. whatever's going on with Hunter Biden, if Hunter Biden gets prosecuted or whatever the case is, those two items have zero connection to each other, other than you're suggesting that somebody who's working on one case is also working on the other. But
Well, no,
outside
the
of that,
FBI agents are connected to the Russia, right?
yeah.
They were connected to that. I mean, this is a proven fact. I seen it. I'll send you with my information that I have. I'll send over to you that I confirmed.
Okay.
I'll send the search warrant over. Now we have the judge that signed the search warrant, Epstein's lawyer. So how do we have all these people that are connected to the, I'm going to say deep state, to the cabal, these people that are connected to the deep state, how are they all connected to each other going after Trump still? It makes no sense. No sense.
Okay, and as I always say, I like speaking to MAGA because I like to be educated. So I'm going to ask you the question I often ask. What is the deep state?
The deep state is George Bush. The deep state is these families that are all been connected, whether it's Republican or Democrat. When we come together as we the people and we forget all this shit that's going on, all the smoke and mirrors, and we come the right and the left and we say these politicians all lie, every last one of them lie, and we put new blood in there, then America will change.
Give me some new blood that does not lie.
Oh, I haven't seen none yet. When you find some, let me know.
So Trump also was in that category then, right?
Well, I believe Trump was also, Dr. Birx wrote a book coming out now. It's a tell-all book that says that she falsified the documents, she falsified the evidence and the science data reports, along with Fauci, to inflate numbers and deaths.
So
and
in
when they did that,
so in other words, you're saying that Trump is also in that group of people who lie. You haven't seen any new people, right?
I mean, as far as I can tell, they gave him the information and then Trump had to report on it. So he was going off of what they were telling him. You know, Trump wasn't the one that was.
He not? Remember, Trump was going to appoint the best and brightest. Are you suggesting that he did not do that? Instead, he appointed people that gave him bad information?
Well, no, I think what happened is Fauci's been under 5 presidents. All right. Fauci's goes back to the AIDS pandemic. You know, Fauci has ties into the AIDS pandemic. So this is how far down the rabbit holes I've gone to find out about Fauci. Now, he was the best candidate because he was under Obama. So if he was the best candidate under Obama, he knows coming in from the last administration, they were already preparing for this pandemic. We got Event 201 with Bill Gates, TED Talk. They were saying, oh, we're going to be facing a pandemic. All of a sudden, we got a pandemic. So when he put Fauci in there, Fauci was the only go-to guy that knew about all this. Besides Birx, what I knew.
Here's what I have to ask you. I'm going to have to part ways with you shortly, but I'll give you the last word. But here's what I have to ask you in regards to you talking about Fauci. Why would you have rallies where you're allowing your supporters to yell, fire Dr. Fauci, and then you appear with him on television the next day for like 2 months straight? Either the guy is so bad that even your supporters realize he is incompetent, or you are for continuing to appear on television. Can you explain why Trump continued to, when he could have easily appointed him to maybe?
Let me put it to you this way.
Wait a minute. Let me finish, and I'll give you the last word. He could have easily appointed Fauci to the head of the HIV task force, or put him on something else instead of remaining on COVID. His own supporters are constantly yelling, "Fire Fauci." Yet he allows Fauci to be on television with him at the same time, telling the American people what to do. Either Fauci is incompetent or Trump is. Your turn.
Well, I would look at it. I don't see Trump as incompetent. I see Trump was surrounded by wolves in sheep's clothing. He came in not knowing that he's not a career politician. These people are career criminals, all of them. Did you know that Robert F. Kennedy sued Bill Gates and Fauci in the Supreme Court? I mean, I could go on for days. I could go on for days with documents to back it up. I mean, and that's what I do. I'm a receipt keeper. That's what I do. I keep receipts. Anybody that follows me, they know I keep receipts. I think Trump honeypotted all these people. I'm going to tell you that. When he first got there, a lot of them were like, oh, Trump, kissing his ass. And then they realized he wasn't playing ball. When he went to the UN and told them, we're not doing the Paris Accord deal. We're not a globalist country. We're a sovereign nation. Kiss my ass. That's what he told them. And that's why we're here right now. That's why we're here right now.
Good talk. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one, man.
Absolutely. You too. Okay. Like I said, always, every day, all day, I allow the people to speak. It's just simply, we speak, you decide. Okay, and I believe is that not someone's slogan? But anyway, obviously, me and the prior caller does not agree on the line. I certainly disagree that Trump was just some new guy or he wasn't a politician. At some point, when all of your supporters are yelling, you need to fire this guy, at the very least, you should be smart enough to stop appearing on television with him. I mean, otherwise, you're starting to make him look so green, so naive that he probably shouldn't be in office. I didn't get a good explanation for that, but the gentleman he started talking about JFK Jr. Big Ivy. Let's move it on. Move on to for the jail system one. Okay, Big Ivy, good evening. By the way, folks, tap the screen. You guys have been lovely. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Big Ivy, what's on your mind?
Hey, you know how I think everything Trump did was innocent and all that, and I think this is a fishing exposition. But you've done said that they took his passports.
Yes.
So the only reason they took his passports because they don't want. He's a flat risk. I think you're going to get your perp walk, whatever. But all it's going to boil down to and go to the courts is over paperwork, and he'll get out of that.
Okay. So why isn't he suing to get his passport back? It's been a week.
Because they're fixing to arrest
him. You believe they're going to ultimately arrest President Trump, number 45, in handcuffs? Seriously? Yeah. You really believe that's going to happen?
That's why they took his passports. Because he's a travel risk. I
have to ask the question that I always ask. President Trump in handcuffs, on television, on CNN, on Fox. What happens to this country the minute every station is interrupted? Hell, they may even interrupt ESPN to tell you that. What happens to this country?
It'd be like big as the O.J. Simpson verdict, big people thinking he's guilty as hell, and other people say he's innocent as hell. Come down to paperwork.
But you don't believe. Okay, there was no. When O.J. Simpson was found not guilty, for the most part, there were a bunch of black people celebrating. What's going to happen when Trump, if, in your opinion, if Trump has been handcuffed? Like I said, O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. A bunch of blacks celebrated. What's going to happen if they find out Trump has just gotten handcuffed? What is America going to? How is America going to respond to that?
I think they're going to be shocked like Elvis Presley's death. I mean, it's going to be worldwide, it's going to, But I don't think a bunch of crazy Trump fans will go crazy and just start shooting. That's nuts. We're not like
So you don't you don't believe the FBI or anything like that is going to face any violence? You don't believe that? Well, there's been so many people that have slowly taken part in the conviction of Trump and taken him down that, hell, we don't know who might get targeted. Right now, Liz Cheney has a election taking place tomorrow, and she's not even really holding public speaking gigs because there's so many death threats coming at her. So you're thinking that Trump could be on television in handcuffs and really not much violence at all?
Yeah, that's what I think. But I think he'll get out on paper, on paperwork. No president has had to go through this ever. But yeah, I think they'll arrest him.
So if you believe that, I have to ask the follow-up question, which I guess the answer should be obvious. Do you think Trump is going to be on the ballot for 2024?
Yeah, I think he can run, indicted or not. But yeah, I don't know about prison.
So if they're charging him with espionage or whatever the hell this turns into, you want a guy. You see a guy that's potentially being charged with, I guess, spying on the country, selling the country out or something, also running to be president of the country.
Well, he's worth billions. The Russians couldn't offer him billions. Hell, when he took Xi to dinner and they was eating this big chocolate cake, he's went and showed him blowing up Russians in Syria for dropping bombs on their people.
So let me ask you this. You're saying he'll be arrested, but he'll get off on papers. Your own personal opinion. Do you think this is a witch hunt, or you think that Merrick Garland is legitimately onto something?
I think the FBI had a stake in this, so to get themselves off the hook. That's why they did it. And being under Biden, you know, everybody's going to play along, but it's going to
So in
come
other
down to
words, you think this
paperwork in
is
the court.
so in other words, you believe this is a nothing burger.
Yeah. Just like
Okay.
Russia, where the FBI had to entrap people and do paperwork wrong, like he is not a CIA agent, and you know, got Flynn out because I don't know why he lied.
Why
Flynn lied.
not? How hard would it be for President Trump to simply prove that the documents he has in his possession are declassified, as opposed to, I mean, it's kind of just like with the election. You can tell us that the election was not held properly. You can tell us that you won, but we want to see proof. Why not just prove the documents were declassified as opposed to just telling everyone?
No, it'll come out in the paperwork.
Well, that's very similar to the election. Folks have been saying for the last 2 years it'll eventually come out, and to this day it has not.
Well, back in 2008, we had about 130 million people that registered to vote and voted. And 2016, it was like 129 million. 2016 was about 130 million. And Donald Trump got 75 million, and Biden got 181 million. So the drop boxes created 25 million new voters. Well, I don't think so. I don't think he got that many above Obama by a long shot.
You're presenting evidence that something sketchy looks like it's happening. I'm willing to entertain that. But Trump said he won by a landslide. You're not presenting evidence that Trump won by a landslide. Saying that it looks like they're saying Biden got more votes than Obama, and that doesn't seem possible. That's something we can discuss. But saying Trump won by a landslide, where's the proof of that?
Where'd the 25 million new voters come from?
Well, if you want to say that's sketchy and that doesn't appear right, then we have to find out and dig into that. But even if the 25 new million votes were frauds, that's not to say they were all Democrats. Where's the proof that Trump won by a landslide?
I think we're fixing to find out a bunch of stuff in the next couple of months.
You think we're going to find out some information on the election in the next couple of months? Before Christmas, we'll have the proof that Trump won by a landslide. Is that what you're saying?
No, he'll come out with not guilty. Then they'll have the primaries with him already out, probably on paper. Bad paperwork. That's all it boils down to, because Trump did not pack his boxes. I don't think he washes his hair.
Do you realize? Okay, you're saying Trump didn't pack those boxes, and you could be onto something, but do you realize how many Americans are serving years, if not decades, in prison because they were caught carrying a package that they alleged they did not pack themselves? Whether they're smugglers at airports driving down the road with a bunch of smack in their trunk, everybody uses that phrase, I didn't pack this myself, which is why at this point, the airport now asks you, did you pack your own bags? Because so many people were using that as an excuse.
You're the president of the United States and you're Donald Trump, a multi-billionaire, been that way for a while. He ain't touched hardly anything. He don't pack his own bags. He don't.
So you think somebody just decided we're going to bring some top secret documents and drop them off at the crib by the shed? He didn't know nothing about what's in his house. The Secret Service, by the way, who has the detail to permanently protect the president for the rest of his life. You don't think the Secret Service would have wanted to know what's in the boxes that's being brought to this house?
I believe they were told to stand back, turn off all the cameras, and keep both his lawyers outside the house, one at the end of the driveway, one out there without nothing to drink for about 8 hours in the heat. She just wanted to come into the kitchen and cool off.
Even if that's the case,
turn off all the cameras if you're not trying to hide something.
Well, fair point. But the argument I would present back to you is that if you hire personal security yourself, If you got the Secret Service protecting you, and someone with more authority than them shows up to the house and makes them stand down, turn down cameras and things like that, even if they legally have to do that, the first thing they would do is pick up the phone and call you and tell you, hey, these people are here and they're making us do stuff, sir. What should we do? The fact that he was not advised that they brought documents into his house because they were told to stand down, you don't see that as questionable in any way?
I think they're evil as hell, and they're trying to frame him, and it's about nuclear shit and nuclear weapons, and they're going to wait till midterms to bring it up. 18 months later and almost 19 months later, they wouldn't wait that long. Well, they wouldn't wait till midterms.
I mean, that's a fair argument, but what about the notion that the reason they waited so long is because they had been trying to work with him through normal cooperative channels to get the documents back, and he was delaying, and they finally realized he did not intend to give them back?
You think the chain of custody for them papers, they didn't know where they was at?
No, they did know where they were at. That's why they were trying to get them back from him.
And they told him to put another lock on that door leading to them documents, and he did at their request. When have you ever heard his lawyer, them calling his lawyer saying, we heard some shit, we're going to come over there and check it out, or we want these documents? Where does it say Trump said no?
And just like you mentioned earlier when you said it's in the paperwork, that has to come out, because not only were the documents classified or not. I've heard the statement you just made about they told him to add a different lock or something like that on it. The FBI is obviously saying something totally different. They're making it clear that they wanted the documents back from day one. They're suggesting that Trump's own attorney signed paperwork saying he did not have anything else in his place, and he actually had more documents, which would not fall into the same category as putting a lock on your door. Either the documents are classified or they're not. This should be pretty easy to prove. Would you not agree?
Yeah, it's going to take months. It's going to take a couple of months before it comes out, I think, to go his way.
Okay. So you don't think Trump will be charged? Unlike my last caller, you don't see him being handcuffed or arrested. Or you said you believe he'll be arrested, but he'll beat it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Ivy. I got to move it on, man. That'll be in 2 months. That's before Christmas. So we should all, whether we are Trumpers, MAGA, or whether we are liberals and Democrats, somebody is going to get a Christmas gift. You said in 2 months, right?
There'll be a lot more shit comes out.
Okay, fair enough. Come on back through anytime, sir. All right, Big Ivy. Okay, comments. When is JFK coming back? Says Natural Night. You know, I had a caller on last night. I don't get a lot of Q, or at least not a lot of folks who admit Q. I do hear a lot of Q. A lot of the core tenets of Q coming across the program, and that's fine. It's a MAGA-friendly zone. I don't mind MAGA coming here and saying whatever they want. I don't ban you for anything. However, the JFK thing has started to come up more and more on my broadcast. I had a guy yesterday when I was asking him about the deep state and trying to unravel and find out what the deep state was, and I'll go right back to the box shortly. Trying to find out what the deep state was. My primary question was, as opposed to grouping it all up as a term of the deep state, who runs this? Who leads it? Give me some actual names. I don't want to just hear an organization. And believe it or not, that caller told me he believes that Q is indeed JFK Jr. So just wanted to run that by you. I'm hearing more and more about JFK as the time goes on. Listen, I was alive when the man supposedly went down in a plane crash. As far as I'm concerned, they recovered the body of him and his wife. So how he's now faking his death, living a high life, and posing his Q is a bit surprising. But I am starting to hear more and more about JFK as the days go on. Returning back to the program. Good to hear from Harry.
Nice to see you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see you as well. What's on your mind?
I just I thought we could either pick up on our first conversation where we talked about Bernie and the 2016 election, or we could talk about the hot topic in the news.
Let's go with the hot topic. We're talking. The question I'm asking, as you see on the monitor behind me, Trump is claiming that those documents that were seized were declassified. They broke in his safe. They took his passport. I'm asking the question: a man with infinite attorneys at his disposal, why has he not sued the FBI demanding his property back? It's been a week. According
Because
to
he
him,
doesn't
they
have a
illegally
case.
broke in his house and took his stuff. Go.
He doesn't have a case. You'd be wasting money.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the man minds wasting money. He has, well, when you got infinite donors donating money to any cause you come up with it, make no mistake about it, all of my Trump supporters out there who are on Trump's text message list, 80810, 80822, I've received texts from him today, emails from him today, talking about donating money for his defense fund. So it doesn't matter if he wastes money. It's not his money.
I mean, I think he's got other things he's got to worry about right now.
Give me some examples.
Well, he's about to do a perp walk for one.
So, what about my last caller suggesting that Trump will be arrested, but he'll easily beat it?
Will Trump die in a jail cell? Ooh.
Will he be in one at all, even for a day? Will he be in one at all?
Will he see the inside of a jail cell?
Yes.
If he did, I would be inclined to believe in to believe in a higher power or some sort of ultimate fairness. But I don't know if he is. I don't know if it would matter.
Do you think it's likely to happen?
I think that there is a fair chance that he will at least see some time behind bars.
Wow. I have a hard time, a really difficult time seeing that happen. But I see folks in the comments agreeing with you. I see Michelle, 1977, is also saying, how many folks out there? I'll let you finish there, Harry. But before we do, yes or no, how many folks out there think that President Trump will see at least a day, even if it's only one day of incarceration? Put yes. If you think this guy will not do a single day ever, just simply type no. I'm real curious. I see a yes and a no because there are folks in the comments that actually believe this man is going to go to jail, even if it's for a day. Wow. And Harry, are you like my previous caller where you don't believe any type of violence or recourse will take place because of this?
We talked about this last night. Some idiot drove into the Capitol and killed himself. It's happening right now.
All right. Okay. Your laughter is. I'm on the side.
On that, can I say something to your audience real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
If you feel like you are just too far in and there is no way out and you are starting to see the light, just know. Maybe not all your friends will ever forgive you, but society at large will accept you back in. You don't have to die in a civil war over a grifter. For real. Like, I'm quite serious. Like, I feel like a lot of people need to hear that right now. There are ways to get out. Society will forgive you. Some people are frustrated with you right now. But ultimately, I think society will forgive these people and move on. These are not the people who, let's say hypothetically, let's say hypothetically, he goes to jail and everything comes to light and he's 100% proven to be a total grifter and grifted everybody out of all this cash and their time. And some people went to jail for him. Some people, like the idiot at the Capitol, died for him. You don't have to do that. Nobody has to do that. And it's
Well,
going to be a lost battle because nobody is taking on the might of the U.S. government armed forces.
here's my issue. You said that if it's proven that he grifted everyone, took all their money, he committed a host of violations. The problem I have is that I don't believe there is anything, and when I say anything, I mean anything, even video evidence. I don't think there is anything at all that will qualify as legitimate proof to some people. It can be edited. You use the deep state, use a hell of a lot of photography edits. I mean, there is nothing you could present to some people.
Yeah,
So I
I
don't know if
totally
you can prove.
100% agree. But when the Moonies broke up, that cult, sure, they did schism, but for the most part, those people just, went back to society. There is a way
Yeah.
out. It's not easy, but if you're in
You
a
could.
dangerous situation and you feel like you don't have any way out or no way to move, everybody has
It
control over their own
sounds
life.
It almost sounds like you're comparing MAGA or the Trump fans to crack cocaine. What you're talking about sounds like a poster you would see on the outside of a rehab center, where, as you said, there is a way out. You don't have to let your life go. I mean, you literally sound like you're describing how to get off of a substance.
Well, I think that there's a lot of people who in the next few years, especially, as Trump, all the crimes he did come to light and society at large gets to see him through the lens of history, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to forget like these last, I don't know, 8 years or something or so. I think there's going to be a lot of people who just would like society to move on and forget that they were ever those people and just, and what I'm saying is, listen, I'm a super far leftist. You know, I, I 100% believe that people not only are capable of redemption, but deserving of redemption. And I think that if
Okay.
you feel like you're too far in, there's no way out, it's really brave to say that you were wrong. It takes a big man to admit that he had been fooled.
What about Roger Bourne in the comments? He's essentially saying we are going to save this country from y'all. That, in other words,
No,
as
you're
opposed
not. You are not
to
going to take on the U.S. military. It's not going to happen. You can try, but you are going to die and your battle is going to lose. You don't need to die for a losing battle. No one, no militia is taking on the U.S. government. They
well,
have
let
enough
me interrupt.
nuclear bombs to
Let me interrupt
destroy
you and
the
let
entire
me interrupt
planet.
you.
They have
Okay, let me
so
interrupt you
many
and say this.
soldiers, National Guard in every state.
Yeah. Let me.
It's the biggest army in the world. You're going to take on the U.S. military with drones and
Okay.
F-15 fighters and battleships? No,
You are describing.
you're just going
You
to
are
commit
literally
suicide by
describing.
cop.
Okay, you are literally describing the tyranny argument for the Second Amendment. You're describing what a lot of folks on the left suggest, that your firearm will not protect you from tyranny, because make no mistake about it, what's going on, whether it's Trump being, whether the election has been taken from Trump, which is something that MAGA overwhelmingly believes, or that they're hanging Trump out to dry wrongfully. They believe we are currently in the midst of tyranny. And a lot of folks believe that the Second Amendment, your right to bear arms, protects you against a tyrannical government. So
But
the
it's
fight
but
that
we
you
don't
just
have the right
portrayed.
to bear arms.
What?
We have the right to own firearms, but nobody's legally owning grenades. Like clearly there are clear limitations that society has decided about the Second Amendment, and it's at a point now where the U.S. military arms outweighs anything that is in the possession of your average Joe in America.
What about this comment? Trigger Warning in the comments stated that we could overthrow our government in one day. How do
Do it.
you view
Go
this?
ahead. Go ahead, throw your
Wait
life
a
away.
minute.
If you can do it tomorrow, you would have. If they could have done it tomorrow, they would have done it.
Well, I'm
They
just telling you,
They
one
would have done
day.
it on January 6th if they could have done it. They tried their damnedest on January 6th. They still couldn't do it. And you know what? The government is not going to come to the next January 6th with their pants around their ankles. They are
Let me
not going
say
to
this.
fuck around.
Let me just say this. It depends on what definition of overthrowing the U.S. government is, because if you see the videotape from what happened on January 6th, there is an African American Capitol Police officer that leads the protesters past the door where all of Congress was in session. If those guys as opposed to chasing that guy, went into that door, they would have overthrown the U.S. government. So when he said they can overdo it in one day, I'm just going to submit to you that almost happened. I mean, if they had got to Mike Pence, they actually almost did overthrow the U.S. government in one day.
All right,
without a lot of guns.
Let's say hypothetically, let's say that Capitol Police officer did not do what he did that day. Say he ran for his life, and that crowd got right into Congress and did what they were going to do. What do you think the next step was going to be? Do you think that
the next step, without Congress and the Senate around, or with them all being under, essentially being held hostage, you got Trump left.
You would have martial law in D.C. It would be martial law.
Trump would have led the country. Well, Trump would have been controlling the country. He would have led the country in the direction he wanted to, which is exactly what they're talking about. I gotta move it on. I'll give you the last word.
I'll just say this one more time. If you feel like you're too far in to this cult and you want to get out, you can get out. And if there's anybody you care about that you feel is in an extreme place that you can take with you, it's easier to leave, not by yourself. Leave. Bring your friends with you. Bring your family. Society will accept you. Put down the pipe.
All right. Good talk, Harry. Catch you on the next one. Okay. Now, obviously, there were plenty of folks in the audience that agree with Harry. And like I said, folks, you're always welcome, whatever your comments are. I saw Guest W, which is a supportive accolade in regards to the guests. And by the way, folks, when you come onto the box, there's a reason why I don't ban anyone. It's not about talking down to my guests. It's not about having wins or losses. I invite you, if you really enjoy what the guest is saying and you think he's making me look like shit, you can type, he is making you look like shit, or if you want to type guest W. I invite all discourse. That's fine. But I prefer that we have a nice, healthy, civilized dialogue between each other. That is my goal. But I don't ban anything you got to say. Going back to the box. All right, we're talking to Army vet Jess Bruce. I'm assuming that this will be absolutely what my previous caller. Me and Army vet go back a little bit now. Army vet, welcome to the program.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Good to hear from you again.
Good. I don't know. There's a lot of crap going on. But well, answer me this: Did the FBI not lie to get a FISA warrant to spy on the president?
There are rumors that may have happened.
It's not a rumor. It's a proven fact. It's a proven fact. That's not a rumor. Did the FBI not try to assassinate Governor Whitmer? Is the agent in charge? Did the FBI not set up some people to try to assassinate the Governor Whitmer?
Yes. Well,
okay, and the agent in charge of the investigation in Washington, D.C. was connected to that. So you believe
that
the
does
FBI?
Look like that happened.
It did happen.
Okay.
So you believe the FBI? They're out there framing people.
I agree with you. But here's one, and I'll let you finish, sir.
Was the Russia hoax not a hoax?
That I don't know, because I agree more with the first things you said than the Russia hoax. And what I'm saying about that is the way Trump had control of I think it was the Senate at the time, or was it Congress? Whatever. They didn't allow those impeachments to be properly vetted, I mean, they were blocking stuff. So even though the impeachments came out in Trump's favor, I don't think that stuff was really handled properly. That's just my own take on that.
It was all a setup. They've been trying to
Okay.
set up Donald Trump for the last 6 years
Why is that?
because he's against the deep state. The
And who
corruption,
is the deep state?
the corruption in our government. Even what was the name? Schumer. He said the FBI has 6 ways from Sunday to get you, and damn
Yeah.
if they don't.
Let me ask you this, Army vet. Just give me your honest opinion. You can tell me whatever you want. If you guys now realize the FBI is totally discredited, they lie to do things. Why the hell didn't you believe that when black people told you that over the last 90 years? Why was it so hard for us to get that point across?
I have believed it.
Well, there hasn't been enough of you. We've been complaining about the FBI since Hoover created the FBI, and nobody believed us. So all of a sudden, this one dude gets mistreated, and all of a sudden, now you like, damn, them Negroes was correct. What took so damn long?
Hell, I was with you, brother.
Okay.
I was with
I
you.
wish there were more of you.
The FBI has been corrupt. J. Edgar Hoover is one of the most corrupt people in the world. He blackmailed every politician in his country.
Well, what I don't like is now that Trump is in office.
He lost the alcohol war, and then he started the drug war.
Okay. Well, here's what I have an issue with is a lot of the folks, and when I say folks, I'm talking about my beloved MAGA folks. A lot of the crooks that you guys are pointing out now in 2022, like the Bushes and shit, you voted for them when they were running for office. George Bush didn't get our vote. He got most of you guys' votes. So it's almost like the arsonist.
We didn't want career politicians. I didn't anyway.
Okay. Well, we didn't vote these people in. You guys did. So all of these deep state folks, the Liz Cheneys, we didn't put Liz Cheney in office. We didn't put Mike Pence. If you think Mike Pence was a treasonous and traded the country, we didn't vote for this dude. You guys did. So you're at this point you come across as the arsonist, demanding credit for putting out the fire.
Not me.
Okay. All right.
I mean, how you calling me an arsonist? I mean,
not you
really.
Specifically, Army. Not you. I'm talking about MAGA in general. The folks who identify as MAGA that are over the age of 50, it's highly likely they voted for George W. Bush as well. The same guy that now they're claiming ruined the country. You think the folks who support Ron DeSantis did not also support Jeb Bush when he was running for governor down there in Florida? It's the same folks you guys are now claiming that represent the deep state. A lot of MAGA voted them folks and kept them in power.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
I agree
with you. I agree with you on that point.
Okay.
But I don't trust the FBI no further than I can see them.
Okay.
So I mean, why they got Peter Strzok on CNN, MSNBC, or whatever the hell he's on? I mean, the guy's discredited. He lied to a FISA court. He tried to frame a president.
So let me ask you this then. With the FBI being totally discredited, at least in your opinion and a lot of other folks, let's say Trump, and I know you don't agree with this, but just for shits and giggles, let's say Trump actually did commit a crime. Something, it don't have to be the documents. Let's just say he actually did something wrong. My question to you, sir, is who could tell you that he committed a crime and you would actually believe them? Who has credibility that could tell you Trump committed a crime and you would actually believe them?
At this point, no one.
Which would put him in a position of God. I mean, that means he could do anything and get away with it, wouldn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't see that as a problem?
They've been after this man for, I mean, every dirty trick in the book. Yeah. And the FBI went after him from the get-go. Why did James Comey go on television? It's not his job. He's not a prosecutor. He's an investigator. When he went on TV and said, we're not going to charge Hillary Clinton, that wasn't his job. That was the Attorney General's job to go on TV, not James Comey.
Yeah.
Okay, there's been a deep cover up for all these crooked politicians for a long time.
Yeah.
FBI is bad. FBI is bad people. Okay, they've
So
been corrupted.
are
They've
you in
been.
the go
Go
ahead.
ahead. You
No,
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, are you in the same camp with Marjorie Taylor Greene that we need to just defund, or I believe there are some Republicans out there now suggesting that we destroy the FBI. Are you in that same camp?
I'm leaning that way.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I don't know what else to do. It's got to be restructured. That and the CIA. Our
Is that
intelligence services, our intelligence services have been corrupted, and they've been corrupted for a long time.
yeah? What I just don't seem to understand though is that before Trump came along, if someone had suggested defunding the FBI, they would have got laughed at.
Not by me.
Yeah, more and that's fine.
I mean,
It,
the FBI,
yeah,
FBI took out most of the Black Panther leadership during the what, 60s, 70s.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
they tried to take out Martin Luther King, but nobody cared. Nobody gave a damn when we were screaming and stuff. All of a
Who's
sudden
to
they
say?
indict
Who's
Trump,
to
and
say?
now you're like, yeah.
I believe the FBI did take out King.
Wow.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Well,
That's what I
now
believe. I
if
believe.
we
I
can,
believe they can. I believe they can brainwash anybody into doing anything they want.
well,
Okay,
if
and
you
it's
can,
easy. It's easy to do. People are brainwashed all the time.
yeah, I spoke to a few. I will say this: if we can get to the bottom of stuff like what you're talking about with the FBI going all the way back to Martin Luther King, at the end of the day, you guys might be right. Trump may end up doing more for black people than anyone else, albeit about 70 years late. But hey, listen,
I truly believe Donald Trump loves America. Okay, and that he's looking out for the best interest of America. And that's what he was doing the whole time he was in there. He was trying to. He just had everyone opposed against him, even the Republicans. I'm not happy with the Republicans. Okay,
well,
I
my
think I
question
think the
though.
whole. I
Go
think
ahead.
all of them. I think they need term limits on these people. They don't need to be in there more than 10 years. That's it.
And you're not the only one that believes that. I think most Americans would get behind term limits, but
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I think
yeah,
we need to roll
yeah.
these people over. They just they're sitting in there grifting. Look at Nancy Pelosi. I mean, look at all these people's bank accounts. They go in there and they making $100,000 a year, and all of a sudden they're a millionaire. No, something wrong with that. That's
You
not
get yeah, you get no argument from me on that. Term limits. I think that even on the left side of the aisle, most people would agree that they should have term limits. But let me ask you this: do you think that something like the name calling in the tweeting insults when you're insulting, sitting senators and governors and things like that, the way Trump was doing, do you think that that might have anything to do with why people were constantly after him?
no, no, I don't.
You know, so
But
you
I
can.
think that's Trump's modus operandi is to get a response from someone, okay, and to put somebody off balance. So that's just Trump's modus operandi. He's always been that way.
So let me
It- it-
reverse it and ask it to you this way. Let's say we had a senator that got elected, and they also had that same modus operandi, and they started making personal attacks about Trump in public everywhere. Do you think Trump would go after that person for constantly talking about him like that?
they have been.
And did Trump go after them?
Sure, he did.
Okay. So you believe that Trump would respond to name calling against him, but you don't believe senators in Congress and generals and all of that would not respond to him name calling them.
I believe they have been slurring the man.
Okay. So I'll ask you again, do you believe that the way he was attacking people personally may have had anything to do with the fact that people have been going after him, as you say, trying to get him for the last 6 years? You don't think his demeanor and his personal attacks towards them had anything to do with that at all?
No, that's just his way of getting a response from somebody.
So why are they attacking him?
Because they're all guilty of grifting. They've all been against. I mean, they seem to be doing everything against the American government. I mean, against the American people, against American society.
So you think?
They shut down our whole economy.
Okay, you think the late John McCain was grifting and just trying to take the country like that?
He's the one that took the Russian the dossier to the FBI was John McCain, and he was right at his end days. He was so sick and on medications, he didn't know what he was doing.
Okay,
he was
so
manipulated.
essentially what you're saying is that our entire government, with the exception of Trump, is corrupt.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I hate to go there. It's a shame, but that's what the last 40 years is.
80% of our politicians in this country are corrupt. How many of you guys actually out there think the man is onto something? 80%. 80%. And what about the notion that Trump is not corrupt? Most of you guys agree with that. 80% of the politicians are corrupt, but Trump was just trying to get this country on track, and he was America first. Jim Flanagan, what do you guys think about that? That was an interesting call.
Welcome back. Let's go to Jim.
Hey.
Jim, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. What do you think about my last caller? 80% of our politicians.
I think we're a little higher than that.
Damn. What about Trump?
I'll include Trump in on
it. Why do you think Trump is corrupt?
I think anybody that gets to the level that he's at, you have to be corrupt.
How so?
Well, think of it this way. That man's had his hands in everything you can think of. I voted for him. I voted for him from different reasons than some. Everybody has their reasons why they vote for him. This is my thoughts on Trump. He's a big mouth New York.
Okay.
From day one. I knew that before I voted for him. My reason for voting for him was because he was outside. Even though we know he's had his hands in there, he's been paying both sides. He said it himself.
He did do that.
That's how things get done. We know that. The reason we end up with a person like Trump is because we allow it. We are to the point where we are so divided as people, when if really me and you sit down, I guarantee we agree on way more than a few issues.
I agree with it. Jim, let me ask you this question. I'll let you continue. Yep. User in the comments asking, someone asked a good comment. That is from Action Jackson, the 1980s movie. Define corrupt. What do you mean when you say corrupt? Give me your definition of corrupt in regards to politicians.
You would have to, in some way, break law or do something which is deceptive. Just like these senators that get rich, they do that because they get heads up. They're getting ready to vote on things. The people that make them laws, our congressmen don't write these laws. The lobbyists do. The people behind the scenes, the staffers, and everybody else, and they read it and say, yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, they're going, oh, well, this is going to happen. Hey, my guy better go put some money towards this. And then before long, they're making money. And we know that ain't right. They would charge anybody else outside that system.
What about when Trump, because Trump did not take a salary as president, but when he would have dignitaries come over, and there's an echo here on your side. I can hear my own voice, but when Trump would have have dignitaries stay into his hotels and play on his golf courses and make money like that, do you see that as corrupt in any way?
I see that as, it's in some ways yes, and in some ways no, because he is different because he has these properties. Most of the politicians we've never had to encounter that before. You know what I mean? So it's different.
That's not. Well, every president has had some form of a business they could steer people to. I mean, when Trump got elected, he stated that he was no longer going to manage his businesses. But all of a sudden, you got people coming to this country to see him, and somehow they end up staying at his property and playing on his golf courses. Out of all the properties and golf courses in this country, You don't see any type of conflict of interest or any type of conspiracy there at all?
I don't see a conspiracy. What I see is anybody that believes that Trump is any of these guys. I don't care who it is. Do the thing. You think they don't know where their money is? You're
Yeah,
crazy. You got to be a fool. These people know where their money is. They didn't get that money by not knowing where their money is.
I
I don't
agree
care
with
who
that.
they are. And you know what?
100%.
And yes, they and you know there could be the fact that maybe we should have banned them from going to them properties because maybe these leaders from other countries are saying, hey, if I stay at the Trump place, which we know are nice places, but if I stay there, that's a little more favor that I'm going to get, through this. But he steered them towards there. Somebody steering them towards it.
Yeah,
Hey, that's a
exactly.
good business. He is a businessman thoroughly all the way through. And anybody believes that he doesn't and he ain't thinking about, I mean, that guy's thinking about 100 ways to make money. That's what he's thinking about.
So in other
But
words, he would be doing the exact same thing a businessman that wins the congressional seat or a businessman that becomes a senator. All of these other folks that we call grifters, and he literally is doing the same thing, but just doing it from the White House.
exactly. I agree with
Okay.
that 100%. But yet we
So,
want to hold him more responsible than we do the others.
well,
We
no,
need a,
and I agree with you. I agree with you that they're holding him to. Well, I guess you are the president; they're going to hold you to a higher regard. But at the same time, even if we do not hold him to a higher account, what you are essentially admitting is that when he talked about draining the swamp, he is part of that swamp because he's also enriching himself off of the office. He's a swamp creature.
he's part of the swamp, but he just
Yeah,
doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. Hey, all these
I
people
like
think that he
that.
ain't part of the swamp. They all think they're not part of the swamp. And that's the
So,
problem. We all pick
is
our
it
sides on who we think's the better swamp. And the truth
is
is
it
they're all swamps.
possible? Is it possible for a swamp creature to drain the swamp? I mean, does he just drunk John to drain himself?
No, what he does, the thing is it's how you define the swamp. One person thinks the swamp's this. It's just like the deep state thing. We hear about the deep state, and you said it earlier. Define the deep state. The deep state is not like one person or one group of people controlling the world. What it is you have, our government is huge. You got to admit, we have so many employees, and only a
Yeah,
certain amount of them are elected. None of the staffers, all these people in these positions
right,
that have a whole lot of power are not. But what you
right.
do is it gets so big, and then you have like-minded people that are not elected that are in certain situations. So when that situation comes up, it all has to do with money, and these people all get together because if somebody's going to come after their money, they're going to go and attack them. And see,
Yeah.
the difference is you got Trump. I truly believe this. I already say I don't think the guy ought to run again. I think he's the wrong person for the country, and I think the country is pushing him to win because we can't come to our civil minds to think that hey, they're all corrupt. And if
So let me
anybody
ask
thinks
you
that,
this: if you think that Trump is not the right person to proceed forward in 2024, but yet we're pushing him to win, if let's just speculate, if Trump gets back in office in 2024, what do you think America will be like?
well, I think this difference. I think Trump really does like America because of the independence and because he has anybody knows Trump, he don't put his big old name up there for nothing. That's his legacy. The reason he wanted to even ran to become president is so his name is in the history books. That is a ego thing. Anybody that becomes president, you got to have a set of cojones to even think you can run for president.
Yeah,
That is a
yeah.
huge job, and I don't care who you are. So that's why we get people that they have these egos, and it takes that ego to become president. I will say,
Well,
but at the same time,
Richard Nixon is in the history books, though.
yeah, Richard Nixon's in the history books. But you don't think he had an ego?
Yeah, I think he
I
did.
mean,
I don't think
you,
he liked how it turned out, though.
no, he didn't, and a lot of them wouldn't. And I think over time, what has happened is you have political sides, and they have done so well to separate people that are on both sides. And there's factions all the way across on both sides. It ain't just one side or the other. it's, you got the crazies on both sides. You got the kind of what we call moderates on each side. And then you got the guys that are truly as close to the middle. We could all figure it out. But in the last, I can tell you for, just myself in the last 2 years, 2.5 years since COVID has opened eyes to a lot of people in this country to things that maybe we didn't open our eyes. We always heard the conspiracy theories. I think it started with me with kind of like 9/11. I still don't know the answer to that. I know we don't have all the answers to it, but I tell you what.
That's great that you would bring that up. I got a question for that because Trump, when he was with the Saudis, also similar to yourself, stated that we never got to the bottom of that. Can you tell me, after serving 4 years in office, if you're the president and you don't believe that 9/11 happened the way that we were told, why didn't he come up and find out what the hell happened while he was in office?
I think he probably knows, once you become president, I think you find out a lot more things than you knew before. And then at the same time, you're also just a president. You're just a man, and the things you
have
hear are what
access to everything. You're not just a man. You have access to everything there is. There is no information you can't get as president.
Yes, except for what they want you to tell you. You are just a person, and if you got to, that's a big government. And when you want answers, it ain't easy. Even if you're the president, you have people that you brought in to tell you, yes, man, or whatever you want to call them. Them people that are around him, that advisors or whatever, them are his people that he picked. They might not be they're just people too. They have their agendas. All these people got their
Then
agendas.
fire them. Then if you're the head of the FBI as the president, the commander in chief, get rid of whoever's in charge of the FBI and put somebody else in it that's going to give you answers. And the reason I'm asking you this is not necessarily to bang Trump, but I'm asking this question because if we don't know who hit us on 9/11, how can we be guaranteed it's not going to happen again? If Trump's whole goal was to defend America, America first, put us above everything, and yet you got a terrorist group that hit us, and you don't know who they are, then he failed at protecting America because you don't know if they'll do it again if you don't know who they are.
I believe that, but the thing is, I think people don't understand, or maybe I don't understand. You become president, you got people around you. You can get to any information you want. You think. But there is people around you that don't want you to have that information.
Why?
Why would they? I mean, why would they want you to have it? Why would they ever want it to come out that the United States government may have had something to do with that? And I don't know. That's conspiracy, but there is doubt in my mind. And I tell you, there's a lot of things that's happened. I've heard pretty much all my life that MLK was, the FBI tried to go after him, and the Black Panthers, all that stuff. And we've all heard that. But you know what? We never really, and I think what it is people. I see it even still today. We don't pay attention. Yeah, it's a story, whatever, but most people are just going on about their lives. But then COVID happened. COVID changed a lot of people's minds because we've seen what the government is capable of doing. And I think it opened up a lot of eyes to people to maybe come around to where you've been seeing for a long time. But yet our government will keep us divided because you're on the left or lean left and I lean right. And they will keep us divided on stupid little issues that we could fix later on if we could just not lose the whole damn country in the process. That's
all right,
the
Jim.
problem is we're losing it.
All right. Well, I think the whole reason why COVID opened our eyes is because who we had as commander in chief. I think if we had someone else that released a unified message, I don't think the melee over COVID would have been as bad. I do got to move it on, but I will say that Trump, in my opinion, and you guys can tell me where I'm getting it wrong, but Trump had a really good economy. And you had the CDC, the FDA, the WHO all telling him you need to shut the country down. And he's thinking like, this is going to ruin one of my biggest successes of my presidency. So he wanted to help protect folks from catching COVID while also trying to keep the economy open. So in my opinion, he was releasing mixed messages, which is why the viewpoint toward how to treat COVID remains mixed to this day. because he was trying to protect two things at the same time, and you can't. You can't shut the country down and protect your economy at the same time. So
And
to
see,
me, he was talking out the side of his neck. You get the last word.
well, my whole thing on COVID, and I will agree. Number one, my belief is, and I think it's come true now, that they should have never shut the country down. But, and I think that's came out in science. John Hopkins University just released a whole study on it and said it had zero effect on COVID. But nobody knew that at the time. You got Donald
Right.
Trump, who's a businessman, don't know a damn thing about COVID or nothing else. Yeah, he's got a great thing going on. I don't care who he was. Nobody wants to shut the economy down. I mean, and he's a businessman. He knows the effects that's going to have, even if it's just on his book, his pocketbook. You know what I mean? Even if it's for selfish reasons. But at the same
Yeah,
time,
no kidding. Very selfish. Go.
at the same time, he is not a science guy, doctor, whatever. He don't know shit about it. But yet he has to go. And what's Donald Trump do? He's a businessman. Let's find the best people who are around us that know something about this. So, he brought Birx and Fauci in. I don't know if Birx and Fauci are
Wasn't he
crazy
supposed
people.
to appoint the best and brightest?
Yes, and I that's what he tried to do. But then I think there's corruption. Even if Fauci, I have my opinions of Fauci, and I think they're different than some on my side, and I think they're not as bad as some on the other side. Everybody thinks, it seems like it's a political thing. You got everybody on the left that kind of thought he was a savior. Everybody on the right thought he's the boogeyman.
What
My thing
about
is,
what about Mike Pence? You think Mike Pence is the best and brightest?
no, I don't think Mike Pence is the
What
best and
about
brightest.
Dr. Oz? He's trying to get Dr. Oz to Senate in Pennsylvania. You think he's the best and brightest?
No.
What about Jim Barr, his attorney general that testified? You think he's the best and brightest?
No.
So you would submit that he didn't try very well to appoint the best and brightest, right? I can keep going. There's a bunch of guys you guys don't like that he gave jobs to.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he may have thought they were the best and brightest at the time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
He's not good at that. He's not good at appointing the best and brightest.
Hell no, he wasn't. He wasn't very bright because you seen what happened to him. I ain't here to. My thing is, I ain't here to apologize for Trump. Like I said in the beginning, the only thing I hope that was that came out of Trump's presidency is that people could see that you don't have to be in that whole political scheme, even though he, in the background, he was giving money to both sides to get things what he wanted done. But that's different than being a political class person. And in the political class, I don't care if they left or right, they don't want nobody coming messing up their system. They just want to have their arguments between them and they'll work it out. But they'll get us to vote for whoever. But we know that's all worked out in the background. They're all getting paid. They're all getting paid. I don't care who they are. So what it comes down to,
Jim. I got to move it on.
Yep.
I got to part ways with you. Appreciate you coming through. Anytime you see me on, you're always welcome back. This is our first time talking, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Well, you're always welcome back again, sir. Good talk.
Okay.
Catch you later.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Okay.
And I was asking them those questions about appointing the best and brightest because I understand my MAGA audience. There's nothing wrong with you believing that Trump has been the best president we've had in a long time. I understand folks believe that. I'm not here to argue with that. But at the same time, you have to understand, in a democracy, a republic, whatever the hell you want to suggest we run, you do not do this by yourself. When folks say that Trump is a businessman, he's not a typical politician, you have to look at the logistics of being a successful businessman compared to a politician. If you own a business and folks on the board do not get with your visions, let's say you're Steve Jobs, you want to come out with a new phone or a new iPad or something, and people think that's stupid, you can get rid of the people because it's your business. That's what a businessman can do. I have the best ideas. I own a business. I sit at the end of the board or at the end of the table here in this room, and I'm the head of the board. In politics, you don't have that same power, which is why I've often stated that Trump would have been far more successful as a dictator, as opposed to someone who has to forcibly work with the Senate, work with Congress, work with the Supreme Court, and all of those to get his message across. You can't just make people do what you want in politics, whereas you can in business. And Trump for those who suggested that he's not a politician, he's a businessman, tried to bring his business tactics to the political sphere, and he got trounced. He kind of reminds me of, for you guys who watch the UFC, Kimbo Slice going into the UFC, or whatever, the guy with the sword on his neck, on his shoulder. Whatever. Everybody is not good at everything else, and his business tactics do not convert as well to politics.
Hey,
Brock
man.
Lesnar is the guy I'm thinking about. Okay, Fast Pass, good
Hey,
evening.
what's up, man? I'm just enjoying listening to the comments and waiting my turn. But
Well, I'm glad to have you here.
I'm
I'm
glad to
asking
be
the
here, man.
question,
Yeah.
why, it's always good to have you on, Fast Pass. Why is Trump not suing the FBI if they took stuff that amounts to his personal property that was already declassified and his passports? Why is he not suing them to get that stuff back?
No, it's only been a week.
That's
It's only been a week.
let me ask you, if the police came into your house, accused you, you had legal prescriptions, legal guns, legal medical marijuana, and they took all your shit, and you had access to an infinite amount of attorneys, how long would it take you to sue to get your stuff back? They took all your guns a
Wait a minute.
week ago.
Did he have medical marijuana in his? You're inferring
No,
on
I'm just
TikTok
simply.
that I might. Please be careful what you say about me. I do not have any legal or illegal of that in my house. So be careful what you say.
All right.
Yeah, it's early, man. Right now, it's just people they're so knee jerk, man. Everybody, they've already come to the determination that one, he's selling nuclear secrets to the Saudis. Okay, now the other one is that he's got classified documents about what was the other one? Oh, that would mark the top most ultra super secret boxes that he may not have ever touched. Who knows? I'm not
Well,
going to defend the man, and
I'm
I'm not going
trying
to
to find.
convict him. I'm
Yeah,
not going
I'm
to
trying.
convict him either. But I'm not
I'm
defending
just
him.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, a week is. And by the way, folks, we got hundreds of people here. Tap your screen. Get your boy up to 25,000 likes. Make that shit happen. I'm
There you
talking to
go.
my patrons, but I'm trying to find out why would you wait a week? They took his passport. You're gonna tell me he just gonna sit around and willy nilly wait to get his personal property back that, according to him, they had no right to take.
Well,
You got
why did they
infinite
take his
lawyers
passport? Why did they take his passport?
because he's
Let
a
me ask
flight
you
risk.
that. He's a flight risk. Come on,
Hear me
man.
out.
To
Hear
some
me out.
non-extraditable country or something? You think you guys are you're one step from building some camp out in some big facility to try to put conservatives and Trump supporters especially into a reconditioning camp. You're already there, man. The guy two callers ago, 2 3 callers, he's way past that point. He's
Okay,
starting to
let
to
me
go
now
through a
let me make
12
it clear.
step program to get over Trump, man. I'm not, and I
Okay,
voted for Heath Schuler. I voted for Democrats. I want you to be clear about that. I am not, I'm an unaffiliated, non-registered. Yes, I voted for Trump because Trump was what everybody, even the Democrats that voted for him, were saying that the country needed up until that time, which was somebody that A, wasn't a politician, B, was a businessman, somebody that would look at the country finally. And that's what the country wanted, man. They got it, okay? That's what they got. But now
and
once
they
he went
probably don't
down,
want it again. Okay,
yeah,
let me make it
go
clear
ahead.
first of all. Okay, let me make it clear first
Right
of all.
on.
I'm not personally saying yours truly. I'm not saying that Trump is a flight risk. I'm viewing it from playing devil's advocate from the attorney from the court side of the aisle. If they truly believe that he possibly could be committing an act of espionage, they're going to look at him and say, let's make sure he doesn't leave the country. Who knows? He may have more documents on him. That's why they would seize his passports. He is a risk of leaving the country. That's the way
Well,
they're going to view it.
they made this such a show that that such an optic that they've got to charge him. They've got to come up with something. And I'm sorry, but man, I do not 100% at all trust anybody 100% of law enforcement, especially especially when you've got somebody that's so conflicted in their interest. And that's who Merrick Garland was. I mean, this was a guy that should have he probably was real bitter. I mean, I don't know if I was given thinking I was going to get a seat on the Supreme Court,
Do you
and
think that
it
was
wasn't
wrong?
even Trump that got him out of it. It wasn't
Do
Trump
you
didn't
do
do
you
that to him.
think? Okay,
That was
interesting. You brought up Merrick Garland. Do you think what the Republicans did to Merrick Garland by preventing Obama from appointing him? Do you think that was wrong? Does he have a legitimate reason to be
I
bitter?
think
According.
I think there was more time on the clock than the Republicans gave them when they started comparing it to the other guy. Who was it? Um,
So I'm asking you,
the
do you think what the Republicans did preventing Merrick Garland from becoming a Supreme Court, do you think that was wrong or not?
In hindsight, and seeing that he probably signed this warrant now over under the behest of somebody above him, and that he probably signed this because he'd been pressured, and he wasn't doing this out of fear and with no fear or favor. I think in hindsight, I'm glad he's not on the Supreme Court. I really am. I don't know that this, but he is
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a
definitely
minute.
he has
I
already
get.
been
Okay,
shown
that
to.
ain't.
Hey, he's criminalizing parents going to PTA meetings.
Okay, wait
You
a minute.
know,
You're giving
he's
me.
labeling them as terrorists. Now
Okay, wait a
that's
minute.
not.
Fast
Yeah,
pass.
go
Hold
ahead.
fast pass.
Yeah,
You
I'm
gotta
listening.
let me in. Fast
I am.
pass. You gotta let me in. You're saying you've given me 4 paragraphs, but it still doesn't answer. I get that you don't think Merrick Garland should have been in there, but I'm asking you, was it wrong to do what they did? Let's say it was somebody you thought should be in there. Do you think the procedure they used to prevent Obama from appointing a Supreme Court justice with almost a year left in his term? President Obama had almost a year left in his term. They blocked him from appointing Merrick Garland.
I
Do
thought
you
it was
think that
six
was wrong?
months. I thought it was 6 months, but whatever. I thought it was 6 months. I think it's politics and it's a blood sport. You know, it's not. It's a blood
So,
sport. I think they did what they could do, not necessarily what they should have done, but what they could have done. And I don't think the Democrats would have done it any differently if they had the opportunity to block um, Cap. What's it? I don't want to say Cap. What's his name? The
Kavanaugh.
latest Kavanaugh. Yeah, yeah. I think they would have probably blocked him too. It's become even
Okay,
bloodier
then let me say
of a
this.
sport.
If you believe what they did to Merrick Garland was politics, a blood sport, then why not suggest that what they're doing to Trump is politics? It's a blood sport. It's not wrong. It's
It's too
politics.
early, man.
It's a
It's
blood
too
sport.
early. I'm so tired of people coming off and knee jerking. I'm just so tired of it on both sides. I mean, I'm just they don't think back and consider or weigh the man's not been convicted yet. So this and what's happened now? We've come to a point that because of COVID, I think they saw how easy it is to shut down First Amendment rights in this country. How easy it is to have people, hell, here's you a $1,600 check. You can stay home for a little while, and I would trade now going back. And now, I mean, I think the COVID was terrible, but I think the worst thing was how easily we gave up certain things that were inherently
Okay. All right.
given
Well,
to
let
us.
me
But
in regards to your comment that the
yeah,
man
go
has
ahead.
not even been in regards to your comment that the man has not even been convicted yet. I
I think
have
he's
to
been
ask
charged.
you. Okay,
Yeah,
I have to ask you when Trump was holding rallies allowing his people to yell lock her up, why would he not pause the crowd and say, "Listen, the woman has not been convicted yet."
same thing. I mean, he didn't wait at the rally. He said it at the debate. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah,
the man.
but she had
He's
not been convicted.
he's
She
no
has not been
respecter.
convicted yet.
Well, he's no people. He's been accused of crimes all since he's announced, and for
Okay.
6 years they've had the gotcha. For 6 years it's been okay. The bombshell news for 6 years. So I'm kind of desensitized to prosecuting that man right now. I don't really how I feel. Or you may not remember, but I don't think he's good for the country or the Republican Party. But I don't think the policies that we're living under, and you're going to feel they just raised $1,000 rent on old folks' retirement community in California. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of units. These people are freaking out because their rent went up $1,000. So I don't know whether or not he's good for the country. I would say the answer is good for the policy, the economics, but as far as the divisiveness, um, I think we may need another guy to win the nomination, and that's that's the way I feel. But he's the guy they got. So, and unfortunately, I think the Democrats supported his candidates that he endorsed because they wanted to run against his
You
supported
know,
candidate.
that is so true, and it could turn out to backfire on the Democrats
I
to
don't
a
know. I think it was
significant
probably
manner.
sound politics because he's so easy to polarize against. If
Yeah,
you get more
and that's
people
what
to
they're.
vote against him, then you can get out to the poll to vote for him. So
Yeah,
that's
and
just my thoughts. And anybody in the
so
comments, man, you're free to say what you want to say, but enjoy it because that shit might end soon.
all right.
go go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Well, listen, I'm gonna keep moving it. I part ways with you for now. You know, you're always welcome back anytime. Fast Pass.
Sure thing, man. You have a great
All right.
evening. All right, bye bye.
Absolutely. You too. You too. Good talk. Okay. Looking in the comments here, for some reason my screen is blocked. Okay. Democrats are evil. User 373 says the Democrats are evil. Listen, elaborate on that. You're welcome in the box. You want to come in the box and describe to me the evils of the liberal party, the evils of Democrats, and how Republicans tend to walk through the halls of Congress, walk in the Oval Office with a halo over their head. Feel free to come and tell me that. Tell me why the Democrats wear black and the Republicans wear white. Without mentioning race, of course. But let me look in the comments. I'll go right back to the box. Trump removed us from NAFTA and NATO. Never forget, then dumb Biden sent us back. Jesse James, make no mistake about it, a lot of members of the Trump administration were no fans of getting us out of NATO. I believe Ambassador Bolton is the reason we're in NATO, not Biden. Ambassador Bolton. Now, Biden strengthened our resolve with NATO. We've now acquired Sweden and Finland in addition to the other countries that were in NATO. But Ambassador Bolton appears to be the one that talked Trump down in getting us out of NATO. Most Americans, I don't know, I think most Americans are not fans of us getting out of NATO. I'd be curious, stay or exit. Type that in the comments. In regards to America being in NATO, you think we should stay as a member of NATO because we pretty much run NATO, or you think we should exit NATO? Now, obviously, we want those countries to pay their fair share in terms of strengthening their military, but who would have supported exiting NATO? I'm just really curious about that. But I think that the country, the world, at least from the Western point of view, is better off if we have a bunch of allies than breaking everything up. And by the way, make no mistake about it, Vladimir Putin had to be salivating to hear the possibility that the United States was going to exit from NATO, because all of those countries over there would be significantly weaker without America in NATO. So regardless of how you feel if you think Trump was in bed with Vladimir Putin, or you think he was holding Vladimir Putin to account, at the end of the day, if we get out of NATO, Vladimir Putin benefits from that. Going straight to, what is this? Slayer. Okay, this was definitely a new guest. Maga Slayer, good evening.
Actually, you know who I am. This is actually Facts Matter. This is my other account.
Oh, okay. That's quite descriptive. I'm like, wow. Okay, what's on your mind this evening?
Wow, Fast Pass. Every Fox News talking point ever. Oh my
Give me an
God.
example of one. Give me an example of one.
Oh my God. I did shit. I don't. There was just so many. You're better at that one than I am.
So let me take you back. Okay, I'll take you back to where the topic in hand. Trump is suggesting that equipment was declassified, which would mean that the FBI broke in his house or went in his house and took his personal property. My question I'm asking, as you see on the monitor behind me, why isn't he suing the FBI, demanding that they return this personal property back to him? Why isn't he doing it? He got infinite lawyers.
Because that's just total nonsense. And the 3 laws he's violated have nothing to do with classification. Period.
Give me those 3 laws.
One is the oh shit.
I
I
know
don't
the
have
word
my notes.
espionage was thrown around.
Espionage is one. The other one was obstruction, and the third one I forget offhand. I wasn't ready for this. But
how did
this.
he obstruct justice? How did well, I guess with him not giving the documents back or lying about it, because they claim that his attorney signed paperwork saying that he didn't have anything declassified in his possession anymore. So maybe
and
that's
quite
the
frankly, he had no business having them. Period. He had no business taking them in the first place.
So what do you think? Why do you think he had this stuff? That he had did he just keep it for his personal collection? Was it like a stolen Rembrandt? What was he going to do with this?
Anything I say on that will be complete conjecture, because I can't prove it. But it could be anything from he's a bolsterous kind of guy that likes to brag and showing people crap to maybe he was going to sell them. I mean,
what do you do? You're sitting around having a cocktail party. You start bragging to your friends. I got the recipe for anthrax. I mean, what is the bragging rights for this? I don't see what you're going to be bragging about. These nuclear documents. I mean, I know how to make a nuclear weapon. I don't understand.
If you want me to explain the mind of Trump, well,
fair enough. Fair point. So, is there an ounce of belief? Well, yeah. Is there an ounce of belief that you think that he could have possibly ever entertained selling those documents on the black market to someone else around the world?
Do I believe that's possible?
Yeah.
Is that the? Oh, definitely. Definitely. He's all about money. I definitely think that's possible. And as far as his,
but that ain't about making money as a businessman. That's about selling out your damn country. You think he's capable of that?
Oh yes, he's about Trump. That's all he's about. Period.
Wow.
I mean,
so if he's found guilty of that, the penalty for that, I believe, goes up to it, including execution. I mean, like
no, actually. Well, if he actually did end up selling them, then I believe that might be that. But presently, the laws that they're citing carry 20-year terms and 10-year terms per document.
And we don't even know yet how many documents he had. We're talking boxes.
Boxes. And as far as his passport goes, if Trump told me, if I was standing in front of Trump and I could see him eye to eye, and he told me he was wearing a red tie, I still wouldn't believe him.
So it's safe to say you don't believe anything Trump says.
No, and as far as his passport goes, we only have his word on that. We don't even know if they have been taken, and if they were taken,
that's the rule. But what about
we don't know that.
But what about the notion that the FBI itself is a corrupt organization? And regardless of how you feel about Trump, you'd have to agree some of the things that MAGA presents in regards to the FBI being corrupt throughout history. I mean, hell, even I can tell you about Edgar Hoover. I'm about to say Larry Hoover. Edgar Hoover. The FBI is capable of doing some pretty corrupt stuff. So what about the possibility that we have to talk, or what about the notion that the FBI itself, which is making all these accusations, is a discredited organization as well?
No, I'm not going to. I wouldn't say the organization is. Has there ever been individuals that could be? Certainly. Like you said, J. Edgar Hoover was a schemy little man. But actually, when I got out of the service, I ended up doing some freelance work for the FBI. And the FBI agents that I've met personally, they are the most straight-laced, square, good do-gooder guys I've ever met in my life. I mean, they are so straight-laced.
Yeah, well, I've met a lot of really good MAGA as well. That don't mean they like liberals. I mean, just because you met a few good ones don't necessarily mean anything.
Well, as I said, could there possibly be an individual that's corrupt, that's certainly possible. But as far as an organization, no. And if people ever really realized all the good things that the FBI does for the American citizens, they kind of hush up on that. I mean, everything from child, you know what, to just about anything. They're diligently working to protect America.
Any chance at all? Any chance at all that this is a witch hunt or a fishing expedition in regards to the former president?
Absolutely not. They've been negotiating with him for 15 months. 15 months. First off, he had no business taking those papers out. Just none. I heard Vice President Gord today reiterate the same thing. Absolutely no business taking those out of there. And then look at the plethora of different excuses that Trump has paraded out this week, testing them out. It's just ridiculous. It's just like a kid lying. I mean, and then as you stated, in early June, his own lawyer signed an affidavit saying there was no more classified documents, and then they get a report from a confidential insider. Oops.
Well, then I have to ask the question that I see in the comments from Steban. If this is the case, what you're saying, so why has he not been charged yet? I mean, you're throwing around all of this stuff. You did a warrant.
Well, number one, we don't know if Merrick Garland will decide to charge him. Number one. Number two.
But how often? Wait a minute. How often do the police, just using a more down to earth term, how often do the police go into somebody's house with a search warrant, take a bunch of shit, and not charge them with anything? How often does that happen?
When it's normal people, never.
Yeah. So why hasn't he been charged?
Well, you want me to jump into the mind of Garland now?
I'm jumping into the mind. I'm jumping into the mind of MAGA. And
they may be hesitant because of. They may be hesitant because of the incidents of the last few days. I mean,
scared?
People attacking.
You think the FBI is scared of MAGA?
No. But I think they're cautious. I think they're cautious. And number one, I personally believe Merrick Garland is going to charge him. And the wheels of justice move slowly. And Merrick Garland is not that guy. He's not theatrical. He's not Mr. Drama. He is going to go about this by the book.
So what about the idea that Merrick Garland might not be a fair judge of character because of what the Republicans did to him with his appointment from Obama? Is there any legitimacy or any way of looking at it from that angle?
That's nonsense. I mean, again, we're talking about charging a former president of the United States. He's not going to do that lighthearted. He's not going to do that without all his ducks in a row. He's not. Okay. First of all, he's not that kind of guy.
I got to play devil's advocate once more. You're saying that he's not going to just willy-nilly go after the former president. What about the notion that the first two impeachments were willy-nilly, haphazardly thrown together to go after the president? So when you say that somebody's not going to just go after the president, what about the idea that they did exactly that with the first two impeachments?
Well, I'm going to set the first one aside because due to your time restraints, we don't have enough time to dissect that one, but there was an awful lot of indictments that came out in that one. And on the second one, all you have to do is read the transcript.
Okay.
Let me for the folks that are in the comments, he took funds and ammunitions that were already designated by the people that actually hold the nation's purse strings, Congress. That was already approved funds for Ukraine, and Trump used them as leverage in order to force them to and only announce, not actually find, but only to announce they were investigating Biden for his political gain.
I do remember that. All right,
exactly.
All right, MAGA Slayer. Facts matter. I got to move it on.
And I'll tell you that name. boy, that definitely starts some reactions.
I bet it does. I absolutely MAGA Slayer. You keep that. You'll go far with that.
You have a
All
good
right,
night, my
catch you
friend.
later, man. Catch you later. All right. Look in the without commentary like a normal person charged with murder. And Jim, I see you in there, Jim Gessler. You know, I will say that the question as to why they have not charged Trump yet, that's a legitimate question, even coming from a guy like myself with a name like mine, as a liberal. That is a legitimate question. Give me up to 30,000 likes, goddammit. Make that happen. Tap the screen. I don't mean to lose the Lord's name in vain, but I appreciate you guys rolling with me. You could be anywhere on TikTok, but right now you're hanging out with me, and I appreciate that. Much love to all of you guys. But that's a legitimate question. You went into this man's home. You took a bunch of documents, materials, or whatever you want to suggest that's classified. You're throwing around words like espionage and things like that. Why hasn't he been charged? If you have such a strong case, you would have had to have a strong case, as my previous caller there, MAGA Slayer, was suggesting. You'd have to have a strong case to even perform the warrant in the first place, because you don't want to look like you're just throwing something together. So if you got a strong case, why isn't he charged? That is a legitimate question. You don't have to be MAGA. You don't have to be a conservative Republican to see that that's a legitimate question to ask. And in my opinion, your humble correspondent, the hourglass is ticking on Merrick Garland to make that charge. You can't do all of this, take stuff out of his home, make all of these wild accusations, and let a huge swath of time go by with no charges. Because as we just discussed on the last phone call, if that was done to me or done to you, we'd be charged already. They don't go into the home of normal citizens, take a bunch of shit, and no charges come out of it. So somebody needs to explain that from the Merrick Garland side of the aisle as to why this man hasn't been charged yet. That is a legitimate point. Going right back to the box, Duke. I believe this is also a new caller. Duke, good evening to you, sir.
Why you call me a new caller every time? I know why, because
TikTok, you must be using different names.
No, what TikTok has done is that they updated I guess their website or whatever, and everybody's got their new names on their deal. Let me turn on the radio.
Oh, hang on a second.
And here's the golden. Let me get the light so you can see me a little bit better.
Okay.
Here is the golden question that you have asked. Why haven't Trump been charged?
Right.
And there's an answer. Because, for one thing, the documents that supposedly be top secret, ultra secret, nobody's going to ever see what it is. You're going to have to take the DOJ's word for it. Hey, we got something that's damaging. Well, what is it?
Whoa. Do you think anybody is going to take the DOJ's word for anything at this point?
Okay. Well, what did they seize?
We need to know that. That's the point I'm making.
You won't never know. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they say it's top secret. Here's the catch-22. You're never gonna know what it is. Now, this administration just weaponized the DOJ with the show of force of going into a ex-president's home, okay, in front of everybody. Let me say this. If this would have happened in any other country, and you was watching from the outside in, you would say, this is the show of a dictator going into an opposition's home, using a police force to go in there to seize some documents 90 days before a midterm election. All of a sudden, he's been out of office how long?
Well, you would say, in regards to viewing this from other countries and coming to opinions, you would say the same thing about January 6th, right? That looks like the work of a dictatorship or a coup, right?
I mean, Of course, Trump said what he said, but he didn't make the people go to
Just the
Washington.
fact that America, you got a real bad echo over there. I'm hearing myself back.
Yeah, what it
But
is my tablet. I'm gonna have to put my headphones on.
yeah,
Hang on, because this tablet picks up. Hang on.
okay. I mean, the point I'm making is just the fact that we've always had a smooth transition of power, and the president show up with thousands of people to protest the election, even though he's lost numerous court cases claiming that it was fraudulent. You would have to see that as being viewed from the outside world as an attempted coup, right?
Of course. But one thing, the documents that the boxes and boxes of documents that Trump supposedly have. I know it sounds low. These headphones are horrible.
Yeah, you real muffled.
I'm real muffled. Yeah, I should have.
Yeah,
Hang on.
your audio's not good.
Yeah, let me switch back over. Hang on.
I should have just went on my phone.
Okay, I hear you now.
I should have went on my phone. Sorry for the echo. I won't stay on long. Look, there's no crime exactly for what's going on right now. Okay, it's a nonsensical crime. There is no crime because you're never going to see the documents. No, you're never going to see them. This is just a show of force. They was hoping that Trump was at home so they can handcuff him. So they can have a show of here
Whoa,
it
whoa,
is.
whoa, whoa, whoa. You said they were hoping that Trump was home so they could. You think the FBI don't know where Trump is? You really think they didn't know where he was located?
Sure, they knew where he was located. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah,
All right. I'm just wondering.
They hoping. No, I was being facetious. Yes, they hoping that he was at home, so they could have this perp walk. Look, we got Trump handcuffed right here. This is
But
all.
that doesn't make any sense when you say they were hoping that he was at home. They knew 100% where the man was located. If they wanted him to be home, he would have been home. There's no hope to that. They know where he's at.
They wanted a perp walk in front of him. They knew he was at, and then seize his passport.
Now, wait a minute. The warrant was performed by the FBI. If they wanted a perp walk, they would have picked up the telephone and had FBI agents go grab the guy from wherever he was located in the United States. That doesn't make any sense when you say they wanted a perp walk. They could have had that.
That's what they wanted, And let me ask you this, okay? Do you actually think Donald Trump needs to sell nuclear secrets to Vladimir Putin? I mean, really?
Do you realize how long I could talk to you about Trump doing things that he don't need to do?
I'm asking you a question. Do you think Donald Trump needs the money to sell nuclear secrets? Now, nobody know what these nuclear secrets are because if they were so prevalent that the Biden administration let him hold on to them for how long has he been out of office?
Wait, what did you say?
How long has Donald Trump been out of office?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. And these secrets were so important. They're so dangerous secrets. They're nuclear secrets. That's what everybody has. That's the talking points that everybody's saying because actually nobody knows what these documents are.
So what about the idea that during these 18 months or so that Trump has had these documents, they have actually been trying to get them back from him cordially, and he's been promising to give them back, or better yet, preventing them from getting them back to the point where they had to call his bluff with a warrant. Do you see any possibilities there?
These documents that he had can be declassified by his lawyers or by his people at any time as the president. This is amazing that they didn't put this much force in the Hillary Clinton servers that she had in her basement. When she had classified.
Well, blame that on Trump. Well, you got to
Huh?
understand if you think that Hillary Clinton was guilty as hell, who's been the president most of that time? Why didn't Trump go after her?
Trump wanted to just drop the. Trump just wanted to
Whoa, whoa,
drop this
whoa, whoa.
whole issue. He could
He's
have.
holding rallies all
He
across
he
America,
did. He
yelling
did.
"Lock her up," and your
And the
response is he wanted
rallies
to drop it.
and the rallies worked. They was a use to show how Hillary Clinton shouldn't be president. So the people voted, and once he got in office, he said, "Look here, instead of being head of state and going after our own people in the United States, he dropped the whole issue. He could have kept it going, and sir, you
You
don't
believe
understand.
that? Wait a minute, hold on. When Trump won the presidency, and now Hillary Clinton was no longer competition for the office, you don't realize how many rallies he continued having with them yelling "Lock her up." You're telling me once he
Yeah,
won the
he
presidency, he
did. He
stopped
did.
talking about going after Hillary Clinton?
He did. He did. He did. He chose to be the bigger man and just move on with it. He did.
You really believe that?
Hey, I'm gonna ask a question that you asked.
Sure.
Do you think that this is all a witch hunt?
No.
You don't.
No.
You
No.
don't think the two impeachments was a part of a witch hunt?
I think the impeachments to some degree probably had a lot to do with him. I don't want to use the term witch hunt, but I get where you're going with it, and I will say that his demeanor towards people probably led to him being
Sir,
involved in
sir,
those impeachments that probably
sir,
would not have happened. However,
sir.
what Merrick Garland is doing to him, in my opinion, is different from the impeachments because this is something that can easily be proven or disproven. If those documents were actually declassified, like he's saying,
They're
there's a
not going to be.
record of that.
They're not going to be disclassified. You're never going to know what they are. This is just a
Yeah.
long history,
Yeah.
like the last, not the guy before this guy said. We're desensitized now from. This is not a gotcha moment for President Trump. Now Democrats are now salivating because they know that
The
Biden is
walls
going
are
to
closing
lose
in.
huh?
They know
Huh?
that the walls are closing in on his
They knew
presidency for
Biden was going to
2024.
look. They knew Democrats knew that Biden is going to lose the midterms. They know it.
So I
This
got to
is their
ask you,
last. Hey! Listen, hold on. This is either going to make the Democrats look good or it's going to be a disaster for them. If like you say, if Eric Gardner doesn't come out with a charge, if he doesn't come out and indict Trump, okay, it's going to look very, very bad
yeah,
for the
I
Democrats.
agree.
So
I
now
agree.
his back is now against the wall. Everybody is now saying, okay, and Trump is even saying, okay, you got something. Let's see what you got. And
Yeah.
he's not going to come out with it. He's
Let's
not.
see about this. So let me ask you a question. It's not completely off topic, but you look similar to me, for instance, from skin tone. Why the hell didn't they believe us when we talked about the FBI being corrupt decades ago? Why the hell did it take for Trump to get in trouble for all of a sudden now? Well, you know what, you Negroes was kind of right about the police department. Why did it take so damn long?
Are you asking why? You
I'm
saying
saying, I am
why?
saying that we have been, I am saying that we have been saying the FBI is not trustworthy for about 80 damn years or whenever they were created. And nobody took us seriously at all. Now all of a sudden Trump gets a warrant served on his crib, and all of a sudden what we say, we got him sounding like Black Lives Matter. MAGA sounds
I got
exactly
you.
like Black
I got,
Lives
I,
Matter now.
I got you. I got you. I got you. For one thing, okay, being an ex-police officer, okay, this lie that was spread around by Black Lives Matter that the police is out to kill black people is absolutely false. Okay. Number two,
What about him being corrupt?
uh, you know, you could take any instances. You could take one doctor and say that all doctors are evil. Just because one doctor goes out and does something We could all
I
put
mean,
everything
you
in
do
a box.
understand that MAGA is saying that all of the FBI is corrupt. They're talking about defunding the FBI. They're not talking about one bad
They're not
apple.
talking.
They're
They're
talking about
not
the whole
talking about.
organization.
They're not talking about all the FBI. They're talking about at this exact moment. At this
You
exact
got
moment where
wait a minute.
Eric Garner.
No,
Hold on.
you,
Slow down.
no.
Slow down. Slow down. Slow
You
down.
got Republicans. You got Republicans saying destroy the FBI. They're not talking about one or two bad people. They
Yeah.
said destroy the FBI.
Eric Garner. Yeah, Eric Garner has stepped out of his role right now. Okay, he stepped completely out of his role. This isn't the first time. This isn't the first time that the FBI has done something like this. Okay, you know, I kind of remember a case where the FBI went. I think it was something with the Clintons or something. I can't remember exactly what. It's
I
gonna
don't.
come to me.
You're losing me though. You lose. Here's the point. Every single thing you're saying about Merrick Garland stepping out of his role,
Yes.
overstepping his boundaries, we could name a host of police chiefs across America that have done that to go after black people. But yet you're coming with the bad apples when it comes to the police department, but you don't mind defunding the entire FBI in defense of Trump. Please explain that.
I don't never talk about defunding the FBI. This is just one case where they have turned political. Okay. They're going after a head of state. Okay. Now, I'm just trying to see how they're going to play this out.
Thank you. Thank you for that hat.
You get one of those? I don't never get one of those in my
I
life.
don't get them either. That's why I'm saying thank you. I always show love for there's another one. Shit, y'all got me looking good tonight. Go ahead, Duke.
Hey, listen, I don't have all the answers for that one because this whole thing is baffling me. I want to see how he's going to try to figure this out. Okay, but one thing I know, the big boogeyman in the room is Donald Trump. They know that they're trying to make sure that he don't run. If Donald Trump said tomorrow, "Hey, you know what? Forget it. I don't want to run. Forget being the president. I give up." All this will just magically just disappear. Yeah. This would just magically poof. It would almost be like wait, hold on. What was the black guy that ran against Obama, who had the sex scandal? What was the other guy? It was two guys. It was going to be two black guys that run for president of the United States. I forgot his name. They came up with a scandal at the last second.
I don't know. I don't remember who.
It's magically when he said, "You know what? I dropped out." That and people in the comments. Oh, who was it? No, it wasn't Ben Carson. It was another guy. He died. No, he died.
Herman Cain.
Yeah, Herman Cain. When Herman Cain was running, okay, and all the scandals came out, and all the sex scandals came out. As soon as Herman Cain said, "You know what? I don't want to run no more," then all of a sudden, the sex scandals went away. This is the same exact thing.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
This is the same exact thing.
That's not unique to Trump. That's not unique to Trump. The same thing would happen if Joe Biden decided not to run for president again. All of the attacks on Hunter Biden would go away too. That's just normal. They want you out of the way. I give you the last word though, Duke. I got to move it on.
You're absolutely right. Thanks for proving my point. It would go away. Okay, so this is the witch hunt that I'm talking about.
And so is Hunter Biden.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That's why they're trying to keep Hunter Biden way back here out the way somewhere because
it's a witch hunt. Because it's a witch hunt.
It is. You're absolutely right. I'm giving you that. So this is the witch hunt that we are seeing at hand. Okay, if he said, "Look here, I don't want to run no more," all of a sudden the FBI will be like, "Hey, you know what? Them documents, they was good after all. Don't worry about it. We good."
Yep. Hey, okay, I agree with that.
My hat's off to you, bro. Hey,
absolutely a pleasure.
Hey,
you know it.
Come to my life.
You're always welcome back. You're always welcome back. Yeah.
And he's right. I do believe that to some degree, if Trump announced he was not going to run for office, a lot of his troubles would dissolve. I agree with that. I don't know if I would say it's totally a witch hunt, just like I don't believe that what they're going after Hunter Biden with is totally a witch hunt. I just think the powers that be in this country, there's so much corruption in the political sphere that they know when you become president, senator, governor, Congress, that your goal is to make money. The only goal is to get you out of the way. Once you are no longer competition, nobody gives a damn about you getting paid in Washington. So, yeah, I do believe if Trump were to announce he's not going to run again in 2024, most of this stuff would go away. Just like if Joe Biden decides not to run again or he steps down, all of Hunter Biden's troubles, for the most part, will go away. So, yeah, damn. Who just sent me that? Man, I appreciate that. Keith sent me that, Coral. You guys are sending me. Wow, good shit. Appreciate that. By the way, we got hundreds of folks in here. You guys have tapped the screen. I guess you guys will take me up to 50,000 if you really want to roll with your boy. You could be anywhere you want to be on TikTok. But right now, you rolling with me. Much love to all you guys. No matter what side of the aisle you on, you know how we do it here. I let everybody get in and get their point across. By the way, MAGA preferred. I love talking to the other side of the aisle, but liberals are welcome on the program as well. We're going to go to Lars over in Greenland, a program frequent viewer, and we're talking about why Trump is not suing the FBI. They took his personal property, according to him. Those documents were declassified. Took his passports, according to him, broke into his safe. Why isn't he using his infinite amount of resources with attorneys to get his shit back? Lars, what's going on? Greenland.
I'm fine. Just relaxing here, watching you.
Oh, good to have you here. Why isn't the man suing to get his stuff back?
I think he's taking his time, and I think he doesn't want the truth to come out.
Yeah. Well, and somebody asked in the comments, how would you explain why a guy's been out of the office for a year and a half needs to have secret documents? That's what we're wondering. Why does he need to have top secret documents in his possession? Multiple boxes of them, by the way. And like what my previous caller was suggesting is, he's right. We're never going to know what those documents were because of the secret, sensitive nature of them. So even if our government says that he had nuclear secrets or something he should not have had, they cannot show it to you to prove it.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, do you think Trump will escape this one? Trump has been really good at escaping charge. You think he's going to get away with this one too?
I don't think so. I think this time they got him.
You think? Well, I've heard that before. that is a very common phrase. This time they got him. I don't know. I wouldn't. I mean, I know you're not in the country. How much news is this making over there?
No, not really. Only topics in our country, but I do follow American news from here because that's I'm interested in to follow in the news. Not only in America, anywhere in the world. I try to follow what's going on.
Okay. Now you guys have, what do you call your leader? You call him a president, a prime minister. What is the leader of your country called?
Prime Minister.
Have you ever had a prime minister go to jail?
No.
Okay. So, which makes me wonder if we're going to, I mean, usually it takes violence to cause a former prime minister or a president of a country. I mean, that does not happen very often without some serious violence or a coup or just something really bad has to happen. Just through the normal judicial process, that doesn't normally happen.
But our country is extremely young. It's our country is younger than me.
Wow. How long has Greenland been around?
Yeah, Greenland as a home rule government was since 1979.
So who owned that land before? Was it Russia? Who owned that land before you guys did?
Denmark.
Oh, Denmark. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, have you guys ever had in your short history, have you had a prime minister that has been as controversial as our Trump has been?
No, but we had some different kind of controls or leaders in our country. But if you really think about it, we had an alcoholic prime minister.
Yeah. Maybe. Now, and this is something that Meg in the comments, and I kind of remember this. Meg in the comments is saying that Trump talked about buying Greenland. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah,
how did that go over in Greenland?
every single Greenlander laughed when they heard about it, and after that got little scared.
So you guys did get a little nervous about him talking about buying your country.
Yeah, but he could not have buy Greenland from Denmark because we have the rights for our country. But Denmark is our today is our protection for our country, and Greenland is part of NATO.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty damn cold in your country. I don't know. I don't know if most Americans would want to buy Greenland. I mean, even if you were in the military, that would be a
No, but
horrible place to like to deploy. You guys get pretty cold there, don't you?
no, not really. Canada, North America, Alaska, Russia is colder because we have Gulf Stream hitting our country, so it's not that cold. But we have the second largest ice mass in the world.
Well, you guys had the problem of like right now it never gets dark outside, right?
No, the winter, yeah. Now it gets dark now. Winter is
I mean,
coming.
right now, your sun doesn't set in the summertime,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. In summertime doesn't set, but it now it begins to sit down. Uh, Now it's kind of dark outside, and it's like every day, 15 minutes earlier, the sun goes down.
Okay, but I mean, but there are periods of time where you have daylight 24 hours a day,
Yeah, about 3 months.
and there are periods of time 3 months out of the year you have darkness 24 hours a day.
There's a mixed conception. We have snow, and snow reflects light, and it's dark, but it's not completely dark.
Okay, that doesn't sound very pleasant to me. I'm just saying I'd have to see it, but even though the snow is reflecting light, that when I look up and see a dark sky for 3 straight months, that sounds like suicide type stuff. I should
Oh
what?
no, it's yeah. If you have to experience for yourself, it's totally different. The darkest winter I ever experienced was in Denmark.
Well, because you have the snow and the ice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Come back to your topics, and I've been listening to for about 2 hours, and I from the point of view from Greenland and Scandinavian point of view, I want to say again, when you're talking about the extreme left wing politician in America,
Yeah.
they're not extreme. That's
No, they're
if you
not.
move
No, they're not.
no,
Yeah,
if you move them.
I agree with you. Bernie Sanders in Europe would be nothing close to far left. He would not. Over here, we think Bernie Sanders and AOC is extremely far left, but yeah, in Europe they would not be. They would be normal.
Yeah, but there will be most likely right wing politician if you move them, because in
Wow.
America you're so extreme right wing politics, all of you. You don't really see how the world really goes. You don't want. It
Yeah,
seems like
is
you
there?
don't want. Yeah.
Yeah, because in our country, the right side of the aisle tends to be pro-life, for instance, anti-abortion. Are there any nations in Western Europe where abortion is banned? Where you can't? Is there any nation over there that does that?
No, not at all. Not in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't think so. Maybe in East. What about Eastern Europe?
There had been. I don't remember exactly how it is in Russia now. Uh,
Yeah.
and
So,
I remember there was a abortion ban in Poland a few years ago. But
yeah.
that's a long time ago, like 20
So
years ago.
America is to the right of pretty much all of Europe. I do agree with you that what we consider far left over here is actually not far left in regards to how politics are around the world. I
Yeah,
agree with that 100%.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
from a point of view, it seems like in America you don't let your politician learn from mistakes. You try to keep in the same box all the time.
Give me an example of what you mean.
Yeah, for example, there was a talk about since AOC is a social democratic, when she bought a first class ticket to Florida, and then suddenly they try to put her in a box. Since she was a social democratic politician, she should not had to buy a first class ticket. If she had the
Yeah.
money, she welcome to do that. And social
Oh, I see
democratic,
what you said. Yeah, I see
yeah,
what you said. They're saying she should practice what she preaches. Like if you have Leonardo DiCaprio talking about saving the environment, he shouldn't be flying around in a private jet. I see what you're saying. Yeah, they
yeah,
did do that to her. Yeah.
yeah. It's funny. You try to keep them in the box. Nobody lives in a box.
Well,
You have to be able to learn from your mistakes or from others' mistakes, and that's normal how politics goes. If you
yeah.
really learn by history and normal life, you will be able to learn, and you cannot stay in a box.
Well, we are a traditionalist country. Tradition comes hard in this country. We're not big friends of change. I mean, the progressives usually push for change, but conservatives and traditionalists like to keep the country the way the founding fathers designed it. So it comes at a fight. It comes at a cost with every change. But listen, Lars, I do got to move it on. Hey, I appreciate you
All right,
being the holding there, man. But you certainly a friend of the program, man. You're welcome back anytime.
all right. Thank you for having me.
All right.
I'm going to bed.
Okay. Good talk. Catch you later. Okay.
Blue wave. Whoa. Who said that? Fly, Eagles, fly. Blue wave come again. You think there's any chance at all of a blue wave in 2-3 months from now? You think that your humble correspondent, yours truly, I do not see that. I do believe the Democrats, and I'll go right back to the box. I do believe the Democrats have gained ground, uh, primarily due to rolling back Roe versus Wade. Will this stuff that Trump is dealing with help the Republicans out, help out Trump in 2024? That remains to be seen. But make no mistake about it, even President Trump himself is on record as stating that rolling back Roe versus Wade will not be beneficial to Republicans in the midterms. Going back to the box, downtown Brown, 32.2.
So, new caller, Downtown Brown. Good evening.
This is Gary Brown. How you doing, bud? I've been in here several
Oh,
times.
Gary, what's up? What's up? What's on your mind this evening?
Like you said, they switched everybody's name, so you're not recognizing people coming in right now.
Thank goodness they didn't do me like that.
So, before we get into the politics part, I wanted to say something. All these questions, there is a way you could do a poll when you ask these questions. You want to know, like, your exit or stay question you said, where people could do a smiley face or a
Okay.
frown face, and then at the end it'll tally it for you. It gives people like a minute to give their thing, and then it tallies it at the top so people can see what the actual results are. So you might want to look into that for your future to help out your program a little bit.
So how does that work? You tell them to send what again?
So I think I haven't never done it, but I think you have to go into the multi-guest option. You do, and then there's a you can hit a poll. So you ask the question, then you hit poll, and it gives everybody in the chat 60 seconds to hit a smiley face or a frown face, like
Okay.
an emoji, and it
Okay, I
tallies
got
it
it.
for you at the end of that minute.
Oh, I'm learning something. I got to, yeah, I don't know. I'm hitting the guess at the bottom. I didn't see the thing pop up like that, but I'll go ahead and Google that and look that up because I would love that feature. Appreciate that. So,
Yeah,
why is Trump not
this way
suing the
when you
FBI?
ask a question. All right, so first off, I'll say I am against almost all the letter agencies anymore. I think they're all corrupt. The problem we have in Washington is the bureaucrats that are there for years and years and years, no matter what administration, what politician. Those bureaucrats stay in the office. And then, like, with this Trump thing and the FBI, it has been a witch hunt ever since Trump came in office. I mean, you saw how they lied to the Pfizer court. To get the warrants in the first place to spy on him when he first came into office, and then that caused the whole first impeachment, and
Why are they
now it
after
just
him? Why do you think they've been after him so much?
that's all that would be speculation, but I think he goes against Washington. He's not in their little circle, so and he don't play by their rules. I mean, we see it on both sides, the left and the right, how the people who stay in office 20, 30, 40 years, I mean, they play cozy together off screen. When they're on the news, one talks
what
one way,
about
one talks the other way, but they all work together to get their bills passed.
So what about okay, does it matter in the comments is suggesting that they started going after Trump from day one because they knew he was a criminal from day one? What about that?
Okay, but before he announced his presidency, and I just saw today where somebody compared him going on The View when he was just on television doing his apprentice, I think is what it was called, or whatever,
Yeah.
where he always told people they were fired. Well, he
Yeah.
went on there and they were all cozy with him. And then he announced his candidacy. They brought him on again, and they were all friends and kissy and huggy. And then when he came into office, all of a sudden they flipped. Before he announced his presidency, everybody loved him. Democrats, Republicans, black, white,
Well,
Hispanic, didn't matter.
yeah, but
Everybody loved Trump before he ran for president. So what changed between the time? And this is a question for everybody. I don't know. I can't answer it for everybody, but what changed between the time he was in rap music and music videos and this and that and on television, and then he announced his candidacy, and all of a sudden he's a bad guy? Like, everybody's opinion of him changed.
Yeah, but I could also tell you that Trump attended Hillary Clinton's wedding, and he was really good friends with the Clintons. What changed between the time Hillary Clinton was a regular citizen or a Secretary of State, and all of a sudden she runs for president, and suddenly baby's blood is appealing to her? I'm just simply telling you, when you run for office, everybody changes like that. It's not just that Trump is not the only one that ran for office, and suddenly a bunch of people hated him. Nobody was saying Hillary Clinton liked baby's blood before she ran for office. Nobody was saying Trump or Obama was born in Kenya before he ran for office. But Trump was starting to say it when he ran for office. So I'm just pointing out that Trump is not the only one that got treated like crap the minute he started running for president.
Oh, okay. I'll give you that. And no, and politics is a ruthless game. That's why I'd never get into it. But I just don't like the way. And Peter Strzok and the high echelons, and like I was saying earlier, the bureaucrats, the people who are at the top and stay at the top of these letter agencies and stuff like that, they are the ones that everybody refers to as the deep state. You asked earlier, who's the deep state? Well, that's the James Comeys and the people who run the FBI and the CIA and stuff like that. Like, they're the ones, they stay in those positions forever, for years and years, and retire from them. And when they have an administration they don't like,
let me ask you,
they just hang low. And then when they get an administration they do like, then they come back out into the forefront. And we've been seeing it for years.
Let me ask you this. Okay, let me ask you this with regards to the suggestion that people were going at Trump since day one. Holly G in the comments says it was his rhetoric at rallies and outlet drain the swamp. And T Mac is saying that Trump is essentially exactly what he dished out. Does it resonate that people are going after Trump because he's dishing out so much garbage that they're just giving it back to him? You see any karma in the way Trump is being treated?
May be karma, or it may just be they don't want him to run again. I mean,
okay,
there's a lot of people on the left and the right that don't want him to run again. I mean, I've said it to you before.
That's every president.
No, I don't think he's good. I think his policies were good, but his rhetoric and the baggage he comes with is not a good forefront for 2024. I think DeSantis should do it, because even people on the left like DeSantis and like the way he stood up to the establishment during COVID and stuff like that. Even though he's a Republican, even people on the left respect DeSantis.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with standing up to the establishment. It's the name calling and the personal insults. Like Ron DeSantis, when it came to shutting down the economy and all of that, he stood up to the establishment without putting a picture of his wife next to Ted Cruz and saying, which one would you choose? Or talking about the size of somebody's hands, or saying Mitt Romney got on his knees. There is ways of standing up to the establishment without looking like a jerk. Would you not agree to that?
No, I agree to that, and I mean that's everybody, and even on this app, you have the same thing. It's
but we're not president. But these are not the president we're talking. We're talking about the president of the United States with the largest bullhorn in the world.
Yeah, well, I just say it's part of. It's always been part of Trump's rhetoric, and I don't think he probably listened to his political advisors when it came to that when he was in office. Point blank. I
Well,
mean, he's a stubborn, self-centered guy.
and that comes with consequences, right?
Yeah, but I do think that this raid, the problem with this raid is the weaponization of the FBI ever since Trump came in office. And if they can do that to him, they can do that to any one of us. And the Democrats, as far as the midterms coming up, I think they've showed their hand. And a lot of people are starting to see, like, they're really coming after our rights, censoring the way people speak. They tried to start that foundation where they were going to start monitoring the internet. Now they've got 1808 that passed the House that's in the Senate right now to strip gun rights when it's going against Heller, the 2008 Supreme Court decision where they said weapons that are in common use in America cannot be banned because that's the Second Amendment. That was a Supreme Court ruling, and Jerry Nadler said on the stand when it was in the Judiciary Committee that was the whole point of the bill, was to take regularly owned weapons from American citizens. Like, they're systematically coming after our rights as Democrats, and that's the problem they're going to have to fight in these midterms.
Well, I would submit to you that everybody coming after people's rights in this country has been the American way. I mean, you got women right now with them losing the right to have pro-choice ability. You got women that believe the Republicans are coming after their rights. Do you not see that?
Well, I would say with the reversal of Roe v. Wade, they honestly went against the Constitution, because the Constitution guarantees life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whether you want to call it a fetus or a clump of cells, whatever, science says it's a life from the time of conception, and you're supposed to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So they should have said it's completely illegal if you go by the Constitution. And the Supreme Court is supposed to rule on the constitutionality of whatever case, and that's it. That is their job.
Well, then, if you go by that reasoning, then that means rape and incest, all of that stuff is murdered in, right?
Well, there always has to be a middle ground. Like, yeah,
Wait a
and
minute.
incest and
If it's
stuff like
murder,
that.
it's murder.
I don't know. I don't agree with abortion at all.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is I can find a middle ground with other people. And most Republicans or most people on the right will find that middle ground. Okay, SA and incest, yeah, we can see how that's traumatizing to the person it happened to. Okay. But
do you think
nobody wants to hear
most
that. They just want to
Republicans
argue their side and the other side, and nobody wants to find a middle ground. That's the problem we have nowadays. It's either your way, my way, or the highway, no matter what side it's on.
Well, if you're talking about somebody's body, they're not going to be a fan of you telling them what to do with it. Wouldn't you understand that?
Yeah, but what about the baby? I mean, what about the baby?
Well, yeah.
I mean, God says in the Bible, I knew you before you were in the womb. That means God knew you before you were even conceived. So, I don't know who's religious in here, but that's what God said in the Bible.
Yeah, but what about separation of church and state? What's in the Bible should have nothing to do with how you rule the land.
Well, this country was founded on Christian values and Christian morals, so
yeah, but it was also founded on the claim of separation of church and state. Somebody's lying somewhere. Is what you're telling me?
No, the separation of church and state was. I'd have to look it up, and I can look it up tonight and come into your live tomorrow and give you the name. But that came from somebody else later on down the line. That actually was not originally part of the Constitution or part of the deliberations when the Constitution was written.
Okay. So in other words, we run a Christian-based country in terms of our laws.
The Christian, not a Christian base, but Christian morality. Like the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, don't covet your neighbor's wife. That, the Christian morality part.
Well, if you're going to go with Christian morality, isn't cheating on your wife, isn't that also just as much of a sin as murder according to the Bible?
Yeah, sin is a sin in the Bible.
Then how will we have how would we have politicians that have committed those sins complaining about women committing a different sin? Do you not see the hypocrisy in that?
Oh, I know. Well, everything about our politics nowadays is hypocrisy. We can go all day
Yeah.
long about hypocrisy, both
Okay.
sides. I don't.
All right. Fair, and,
But
and I'm
yeah,
only asking that because you got Trump that has obviously cheated on multiple women, had 4 wives, probably 20 women accused him of sexual assault, telling women don't sin and have an abortion. So that's what I'm just
yeah,
pointing out. That's got to be hypocritical as hell.
yeah. Well, but I mean, a lot of wealthy men, millionaires, billionaires, all included, women do throw themselves at those guys because of the money aspect and stuff like that, and they get
Yeah.
perks from it. And the fact that that's never brought up because nobody wants to bring it up, but it is an absolute fact that it happens. I mean, it happened
Yeah.
with that rapper Drake, where he wore a rubber and
Yeah.
he threw the rubber
Yeah.
away, and then he put hot sauce in it, and the woman tried to shove it up in herself or whatever. Like, I'm sure that happens more than just that one instance, but that's just one that
Oh
came to
my
light.
God, that had to be interesting. All right, I got to move it on.
All right, you have a good night, buddy. Good talking to you as always.
Always a pleasure. All right, looking in the comments here. Let me move this on here. I don't of their God, says user 936, which leads to in my opinion, your humble correspondent here, I believe when we're talking about all of that separation of church and state and freedom of religion talk, it made a lot more sense when the country was all on one accord. You could say freedom of religion when everybody in the country is Christian, and they're not going to really try to become anything else anyway. Or you could say, freedom of choice when everybody's going to choose the same damn thing. But now, just like with the bring us you're hungry, you're tired, you're weary, you're poor, that's written on the Statue of Liberty. It's fine to say that when it takes 9 months or more to sail over here by a wooden boat. But now that when the people are actually coming and they actually got they're being held accountable for those statements, you realize a lot of that shit was just a farce. It's like when you see a long lost relative at a funeral and they go, well, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And then when you actually dial them up and ask them for some shit, you realize that was bullshit. Going back to the comments, or back to the box rather, Mimosa. Founding fathers were escaping religion and were what does it say, theists? Okay, looks like going in the box of Mimosa. For some reason, it's not letting this caller come on here. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the exercise. But were they telling the truth when they said that? Or were they giving a phrase lip service at the time because they didn't actually believe it was ever going to come to fruition? I have a question. If gun control is the answer, shouldn't Chicago be the safest place in the U.S.? Cowboy, answer to that is no. And here's the reason why I would tell you that. As a longtime resident of Chicago, I lived in Chicago nearly 30 years of my life, being candid with you. Chicago is only about a 5-minute drive, 5 miles, 5 minutes or so from the Indiana border, where guns can easily be purchased in Indiana. I won't say dumb it down, but I'll give you a different description of it. In Chicago, fireworks are also illegal. 4th of July fireworks, they don't like all of the fireworks in Chicago. In Indiana, you can easily get fireworks. Same thing happens. If a person wants to have fireworks in Chicago, they drive over to Indiana, purchase the shit, and come home in Chicago and use them. And you see fireworks going off everywhere, even though they are illegal. The reason Chicago has an issue with guns is because it is not a quarantined area. The countries around the world that have strong gun bans where it is very difficult to get a gun are quarantined. In other words, you cannot enter or exit that country without customs going through your bags and shit looking for firearms. So then it works. But if you can just enter the country and exit the country without being searched, their gun laws would never work. And that's what happens in Chicago, is that you can enter and exit the city of Chicago. You can leave Chicago and go to Texas, go to Missouri, go to any gun-friendly state and come back into Chicago and nobody's searching you when you come back in the city.
So there's nothing stopping you from bringing weapons in town with you. That's why the gun laws don't work. If they had checkpoints at every entrance on the highway coming into the city of Chicago, guns would be a lot less available. I mean, there's always going to be some that get through. Just like in Japan, where guns are strictly outlawed, they've had one shooting in, I believe, 2 years because you're getting checked every time you come in the country. Same thing with a lot of these other countries around the world that have tough gun bans. You get checked, you can't bring them in. Chicago doesn't have any type of quarantine. It's not. Nothing's preventing you from leaving the city and coming back with guns. Indiana is the problem, except Indiana doesn't have a problem. Then you've obviously never been to Gary. You've obviously never been to Hammond. You've probably never went to Indianapolis, Evansville. There are plenty of serious homicides going on in Indiana. So you're telling me Indiana's not the problem? Okay, you got to get to Indiana. Go enjoy the Hoosier State if you want. And by the way, take body armor. Looking in the comment, or better yet, the box. Danielle.
You might be a new caller to the program. Regardless, you are. Good evening, Danielle.
How's it going? I'm Dan in New York. Army veteran, all that good stuff.
Good to hear from you.
Why is Trump not suing the FBI? One, he doesn't have standing.
Yes.
Two, he's lied repeatedly about the warrant and everything involved, and he's basically been refuted. So he's not going to do that because the FBI director actually stated that he's trying to unseal the warrant so that people can actually see it, that Donald Trump lied. The idea, the audacity. I'd even go as far as the caucasity of him to actually lie in everybody's face is ridiculous. The amount.
The caucasity. I like it. That's a new word. The caucasity. Okay. Keep going.
Yes, because when it comes to this basic thing, all right, in the comments I've been dealing with these lot. I've been seeing a lot of these people saying crazy things, like the last person, not the last one. Yeah, Gary. All right, the downtown dude. First off, he didn't understand most of the things that were involved in the issues. Like, for instance, he thinks that he doesn't realize that there are people that are on the left, or the Swedish guy. There are people that are on the left. All right, actual leftists. This whole squad for one. All right,
okay.
Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, all that type of stuff. The idea. Now, when it comes to both of these two parties, they're both right wing. One's center right, one's far right, and the Democrats didn't move. Democrats didn't move. The Republicans just went further right because, oh my goodness, how dare a black guy become president? And then the whole time, from beginning to end, it's as simple as this. Donald Trump's always been a racist. And as a private citizen, that's annoying. It's a novelty. But in a politician, especially one so powerful that they could literally speak things into existence like a president.
Give me an example of why you, Dan, would say that President Trump is intolerant.
Okay. One. In 1973, Donald Trump was actually prosecuted for racial discrimination and violating the racial provisions of the Fair Housing Act.
Let me say this in regards to give me something modern, because if you go to 1973, Joe Biden's going to be standing next to him.
Okay, in 2008, all right, in 2016, when Donald Trump was running, when Barack Obama was running for president, Senator Barack Obama was running against Senator John McCain. He asked only one of them. Both of them are senators. John McCain was born in Panama. He never asked the white guy for his birth certificate. And then even after President Barack Obama gave him the birth certificate, no joke, he produced it in under a day. Then he said, no, I want your long form birth certificate. He got that in a week and a half. All right. And then he pretended like he never got it. You know what I mean? It should have been the end of it. But no, he persisted. And he basically leaned into the racism. He made hay over it. And the thing is, nobody's surprised by any of this. Donald Trump,
I'll let you continue, but just a fun fact. When he asked for Obama to release the long form, Obama used that as a campaign fund. This is one of the cups from I think it was 2012. And on the back, it has the long form of the birth certificate. So I've had this as a souvenir from that campaign.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Yes. So when it comes to these sort of things, it's not as if he hasn't been telling us who he is. All right. So I was simply mentioning the ones from the 70s. But you had the 70s. He did it again in 75 after they were on probation, cost $25 million. Then he did it again in 81 with the racial discrimination with his business. He was 27 at the time. So it's not like he was a little kid. And he was a named defendant in this. He was caught in a sting by the DOJ.
What about the claims that President Trump has done more for blacks than any president in recent history?
Oh, let's destroy that utterly. Okay, when it comes to the First Step Act, 97% of the people that were released during the First Step Act ended up recidivized because they didn't have a provision, because they didn't give any provisions to actually help them. They had to have a job within a week, job and a residence within a week. HBCUs. The HBCU presidents actually stated as soon as they left the meeting with him that he actually screwed them over, because what he did was he capped their he basically increased the money for by 5%, but he capped it for the next 10 years, which means 9 years going forward of budgetary shortfalls. Then he actually cuts the actual funding to programs like United Negro College Fund. The United Negro College Fund is how the students actually fund their college experience, which means that you don't actually prison reform. He actually gave more money to the actual for-profit prisons and didn't actually reduce any of the quotas for as far as occupancy. So you actually have for-profit prisons who are actually making money off of essentially slavery, modern day slavery. Because the thing is, they have actual occupancy quotas. They actually have contracts with the government. And the thing is, the American slavery basically worked that you had people who couldn't vote, who were basically counted in the census for congressional seating, but then, going forward, they didn't actually, they basically made money for the state. That's literally how for-profit prisons work. It's just slavery with extra steps. It's debt peonage modernized.
I think I actually agree with most of that. But I'm throwing those out at you because I hear those things often stated when it comes to defending.
Oh God, do you see this? Do you see this guy use a bunch of numbers? He says that's not slavery. They make $1. They make 27 cents per hour. Are you kidding me? Do you know how? Do you know what that means?
Sarcastic. I think he's on your side.
I'm hoping that that's. I'm hoping. Yeah, I just heard somebody say that. And so it's not that I just hate Donald Trump, and I need people to understand this. Just because Method Man or freaking Raekwon or ODB mention him in a rap song doesn't mean we didn't realize as New Yorkers they're all from Staten Island. They all know how I'm from Queens, New York. We all hated Trump. We realized he was a criminal. We've known this forever. There's a reason they hate his guts in Jersey. They hate him here in New York because, first off, he is a con man. First off, he pretends that he wrote that book of his, Art of the Deal. It was written by a guy named Schultz. All right. Then on top of that, all right, during the time when he was writing that, Donald Trump was claiming that he was making all these big money moves and making all these great deals. He was filing for bankruptcy privately, and selling the debt to the corporation, and then basically screwing over his investors. At the time that his casinos closed, basically what he did is he sold that debt to them. But since he could do personal bankruptcy, there's a provision within the tax code that for every $50 million you lose in a single year, you can basically, going forward, not pay 1 year of taxes. He lost $960 million in 1 year.
What about the burial location of his ex-wife?
Okay, this is the thing. In what universe do you need 6 pallbearers? Do you need 10 pallbearers for a person who was cremated? And then I myself, I get the little text messages and everything asking for money and everything. The day she passed away, that's how I found out that she passed away. Is that I got a text message begging me for money based on his ex-wife's her loss of life. It was from Eric Trump begging for money. $45, please. About his mother.
Wow. It's crazy because I heard about it on the news, but I did get the same message you're talking about. But, shout out to the man how much money is that guy raising? I mean, since he's been out of office, he's probably raised over, damn near $500 million. I mean,
it wouldn't surprise me. But the thing that bothers me the most about it is, what about the money that he made when he was in office? What about the $255 million that he made from his golf outings? Or that we found out about a thing called executive time, where he basically, from when he woke up until about 10:30 in the morning, he was basically on Fox and Friends doing everything except being president. And then he was out of work by 2:30 so he could actually get on a plane so he could go to one of his rallies in Nebraska or Saskatchewan or wherever.
But he didn't take
Yes,
a salary.
Yes, he took a salary because you have to get congressional approval for the president not to take the salary. It never happened. He took the money.
Are
He
you
didn't
for real?
donate crap.
I didn't hear that.
You cannot donate the presidential salary without congressional approval.
What about him giving it away?
He could probably give it away afterwards, but there's no evidence that he gave it away. If he had done it, we would have seen it. This is the thing. It's no different than how he says he's a billionaire. If Donald Trump was actually a self-made billionaire, we would know every detail of all those amazing freaking money moves. It would sound like Richie Rich on steroids. But guess what? Never comes up. And then back in the day when his dad was alive, his dad was showing up to the casino with his lawyer, buying $15 million in chips, and then just leaving, which is an illegal loan, which is what he got in trouble for once. All right? And over and over and over again. I'm a New Yorker.
From New York.
I watched him.
Yeah, you definitely from New York. You got plenty of history coming out of that location. So why do you think the man is not suing the FBI then? To get his stuff back?
The reason he's not suing the FBI is because to sue the FBI, for one, he has to have standing. Secondly, there has to be mens rea and access rea. There has to be a guilty action and a guilty mind. Somebody that did something and they knowingly did something wrong. And the thing is, they didn't do anything wrong. Everything he tried to push already got destroyed. Well, they didn't give me enough notice. They told you in June. They didn't come here until August. Well, it's kind of messed up that they didn't give me the warrant. Turned out they did show you the warrant. You knew exactly what they were looking for. Oh yeah, well, it was actually a witch hunt. Then why they keep finding freaking magic spells and cauldrons, sucker? They found the documents. You know what I mean? Over and over again. So suing would actually be more embarrassing.
Damn.
That's why.
Well, let me and I see somebody in the audience saying, keep this caller on it. Obviously, there's a few liberals out there that's loving your shit. But by the way, folks, follow the channel. My preferred audience is MAGA, but I don't have any problem talking to liberals, as you can see here. Feel free to follow the channel. Being from New York, he clearly escaped your area. He's now living down in Florida. Do you think that what Merrick Garland is pursuing will ultimately stick to President Trump? Or you think he'll escape this one too?
Well, I think it will for several reasons. One, he did it. Like one of the things is similar to how, like for instance, the first time that he got impeached, it was for a violation of 18 USC subsection 201, bribery of a public official, right? The second time was for inciting an insurrection. Now the thing is, when it comes to these sort of things, he did it, and each time in defending himself, he showed that he did it. Because remember, he gave the transcript summary, and that was actually the quid pro quo in the first one. And then on and on, the speech was the quid pro quo. Now, in this case, we know he did it because they found the documents. And then his excuse was laughable. But
wait a minute.
The Department of Energy has to approve declassifying those documents requires...
Okay, I'll let you continue. Let me ask you this. CMB Corrado, a friend of the program, he's saying that Trump was acquitted for getting impeached on all counts. You're not saying that. He's saying that. So what do you think about his comment that President Trump was actually acquitted on all counts during those impeachments?
Well, he wasn't acquitted. He simply got probation is what it basically comes up to. Yeah, okay. Impeachment is impeachment. It happens in the House, period. All right? The sentencing sort of thing, whether or not you get removed or not. That's what happens in the Senate. And the Republicans, both times, were in charge of the Senate. But the sad part is, especially the second time, Mitch McConnell literally voted not to freaking remove him, and then 14 minutes later, looked into a camera and said that he thought he was guilty and that he should be held accountable in court. That happened. So the idea, what happened in those 14 minutes? What? You didn't think he should be removed? But you thought he was guilty? Or did you just find out in the last 14 minutes? Who walked up to him? What'd they show him? Come on, can I see it? You know what I mean?
You know and that is interesting that when you look at Mitch McConnell's account, where he cleared, and I've played that before in the program, where he says that Trump has not got away with anything yet. And then he follows up by saying he is still accountable for everything he did while president as an average citizen. He has not gotten away with anything yet. He was kind of laying out the blueprint for what they should do.
Well, I mean, it was absolutely clear, because this is the thing. Donald Trump had his original attorney general was Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions wasn't on board with this idea that a president under no circumstances, no matter how egregious, can never be charged with a crime. He wasn't on board with that. But William Barr actually wrote a treatise 8 years earlier to that effect, to that exact effect. So that's why William Barr became the new Attorney General. He asked for Jeff Sessions to step down, and William Barr became freaking Attorney General. But the thing was, that's the reason why. That's the reason why. Donald Trump was trying to ride out the statute of limitations regarding a lot of these crimes. But the thing is, he's not president anymore. He's Joe Q. Schmuckatelli. You ain't nobody.
What about the idea that he's going to return in 2024? You don't think he? Do you think he will even be on the ballot?
I want him to try. I would. Can you imagine the primary, the GOP primary, with him and DeSantis hurling freaking bombs at each other? Hey, Mr. Governor DeSantis, why did you buy every single COVID test in the country and then let them expire? Well, then why did you ignore that pandemic? And I mean, can you think about this? It's going to be must-see TV. You could put that on pay-per-view and I'd pay for it. It would be hilarious watching these two freaking morons. Well, actually, no, not morons. DeSantis is basically Trump if he had a brain. We're talking about the difference between freaking the Scarecrow and freaking Tin Man. That's it. That's the thing.
All right, Dan. Dan, it's always good to have you on. Listen, man, I got to move it on, but okay.
All right, man.
That's all I'm gonna say. We'll see what happens.
All right,
good
man.
talk,
Take
man.
it easy.
Catch you later.
Hey, I want to play that. I'm gonna have to wrap it up shortly, but what we were just discussing there. It's only a minute, but I want you to hear it.
Justice Story specifically reminded that while former officials were not eligible for impeachment or conviction, they were, and this is extremely important, still liable to be tried and punished in the ordinary tribunals of justice. Put another way, in the language of today, President Trump is still liable for everything he did while he was in office as an ordinary citizen. Unless the statute of limitations is run, still liable for everything he did while he's in office. Didn't get away with anything yet. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
That's Mitch McConnell. Essentially,
specifically,
let me stop it. That's Mitch McConnell there, essentially laying what some might argue is the groundwork for what's happening to President Trump today. He stated that according to what he came across, and a lot of us on the left think it's bullshit, but he was saying that while it did not leave room for impeachment, it left room for Trump to be pursued in civil and criminal court. As you hear him saying that he ain't got away with nothing yet, y'all still can get him. Here's how. So for you folks who are on the right that are suggesting that the liberals are the only ones that are after Trump, there's a guy right there for you, the Senate Majority Leader, the guy that's in charge of all the Senate, Mitch McConnell, laying out what essentially is the groundwork for what you're seeing now. So just imagine Mitch McConnell on January, whenever the hell that was, 6 or soon after that, or whenever the impeachment was, rather. Imagine him walking in with blueprints in his hand, and now what you're seeing is the actual construction of the facility. But make no mistake about it, the facility they're building is based off of the blueprints that were in Mitch McConnell's hand that day. Anyway, folks, I do got to wrap it up. Like always, I do have to go to work in the morning like the rest of us. We got to pull myself up by my bootstraps. You know the saying. But I do appreciate the fact that while you could be anywhere on Twitter, you spent a little time with your boy. Always welcome from either side of the aisle. I make it clear it's a MAGA-friendly zone. I don't ban anybody. So for you folks in the comments, for folks who come on the box, you want to tear me a new one, et cetera, et cetera. I do not ban comments. I let my folks speak, give them plenty of time to speak, and let them say what the hell they got to say. Appreciate you guys getting me up to 50,000 likes plus. Follow the program. We do this every night, generally around 7 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. You're always welcome back. You're always welcome in the box. Much love and appreciation to all you guys. Free speech. Stay safe. and I'll catch you tomorrow. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'm out.